This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 169 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
When we did the lunch, when we got to meet Harrison Ford, and this was like really touching at the time. Before we ate, he paused and he said grace.
Saw Star Wars 2 being filmed. Okay. Now go back to Mayberry.
Is this when I say my first movie poster was Beauty and the Beast?
Speaking of beauty, let's go back to Carrie Fisher.
I have to say, watching it now, I totally get a different point of view on it.
I have to admit, even I was going like, I don't understand what we're saying here.
But the only problem with me was, why doesn't she have eyeballs?
The Millennium Falcon's got a ton of red buttons. I would have been pressing them all.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers. Are you ready to talk some Star Wars and Disney? Well, if your answer was a resounding yes, then we want to welcome you to
Skywalking Through Neverland.
This is your fun-filled Star Wars and Disney podcast that leads you on a tour through decades of fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, but now everyone, please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who's all decked out in her workout gear.
I thought you were going to say my Wonder Woman, Sarah.
Oh, look at that. I missed it. Yes. If Judy Hopps was Wonder Woman, this is what she would look like. I'm trying to lead you into things we want to share.
Oh, okay.
See, not all segues work. All right? Just putting that out there right now. And
Okay.
that clearly was, that crystallized that right
point?
there. Yes.
All right, well, I want to say hello to our Star Wars and Disney and Marvel family, and even DC family, if you guys are DC fans out there. So, hello and welcome to our show. We like to start each and every episode with a giant Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers who listen to the show every week. And we also Facebook Live and Periscope Live the show every week, so thank you guys who are watching right now. Charles Halloran and John Fowler right there. And also, we also love when you tweet at us. We are at Skywalking Pod, and we have our lovely Facebook group where you guys, the listeners, the Skywalkers, can get to know each other and even form your own meetups around the world. Really, it's so exciting. So we just love it when we all share the positivity about our collective adventure through fandom.
That's right. This is where you go to find the bright center of fandom, right here on Skywalking Through Neverland.
That's right. Oh, if you happen to be listening to this on YouTube right now, or even watching our behind the scenes on YouTube, and you like our shows, please feel free to click that little thumbs up button below this video, right there below the video, and then comment on it. We love those comments. And then also hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. We would love you guys to join us. We are going to be posting more videos in general from Star Wars Land construction updates, which right now you can go and look, and they're all the way back to April 2016. So it's kind of fun to watch the pile of dirt become like this giant building.
Pile of dirt is becoming a pile of steel girders.
Yes, it's so cool. And also, we're going to be posting bits of fun at Disneyland that we run into, or press events. And we already have a ton of stuff posted. We have over 300 videos there that we've been posting throughout the years. We just never really promoted our YouTube channel. So now we will be concentrating more on that. And please feel free to go look. We are Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube. So just search that. You'll find us.
We're trying to stretch out our social media reach.
Yeah, definitely.
And YouTube is not something we have explored. We did release TPZ, our Star Wars fan film.
Right.
We did release a couple of other little fan films we've done, day jobs, and the Acklay video.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So there's a couple of fan films on there that are really fun, as well as our, like you said, press events
Yes.
and Disneyland visits.
Although the most watched video on our channel is my meet and greet with Gaston, which has over 500,000 views.
Yikes.
I am not kidding you. 500,000 views for a 4-minute video of me meeting with Gaston.
You never know what's going to hit.
Yes.
All right, well, you know what is going to hit? The fact that we are recording this in Long Beach, California on May the 16th, 2017. And what does today mark the anniversary of?
From your notes, it looks like it's the 15th anniversary of Attack of the Clones.
Very well said. Almost like it was a whole improv.
Oh my gosh.
The 15th anniversary of Attack of the Clones.
Maybe you shouldn't put the answers to your questions in the show notes.
Maybe so. Oh, hey, you know what? I
What?
don't know why I just thought of this, but it was 15 years ago that I got this
Oh, okay.
right over here
All right.
at the Attack of the Clones premiere.
Show the Skywalkers.
I had received this.
Whoa. Here,
This
let's scoot it
is
back.
the Lego Republic Gunship.
Wow.
Look at this. Is a huge kit.
It is.
I got 15 years ago today. I was dressed as Jango Fett at the it wasn't the TCL blah 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 theater. It was just the Man's Chinese Theater.
Okay.
Back then, and I was dressed as Jango Fett, and a representative from Lego happened to be there, and really liked the fact that I was playing with the kids. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what? I like the fact that you're really integrating yourself with these kids, and I want to give you something. Okay, what? And he hands me this.
Oh my gosh.
This big box of Lego. Now, I think this has like a street value of like $150.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
And after all this time of keeping it sealed, guess what I decided to do?
Give it to me so I can build it. Yay! I'm gonna build it.
So, Sarah, you can build Republic Gunship Lego set.
I'm so excited.
But
Yay.
this offer leaves the table at midnight,
Okay.
because then it's no longer the 15th anniversary.
All right.
What is one of your favorite Attack of the Clones anniversary moments?
You know what? Honestly, if there was a dark time to my fandom, it was kind of those years right after I graduated college. I didn't really have friends who were into Star Wars, and I was just trying to, survive. After college, you're just trying to get jobs, you're trying to whatever. So admittedly, I don't even think I saw Attack of the Clones on opening night.
Really?
No, yeah, really. And in fact, I was going in between college and then I went back to Austin for summer break. Then when I got back to college, I believe that's when I saw it at the Man's Chinese Theater. But it wasn't opening night at all. But I saw it there. And I remember the scene where Yoda starts fighting and everyone in the audience was like, yeah! And then also, my favorite moment is the Sound of Music moment with her, like in that theater, her coming over the hills. It was so Sound of Music. And I think I was like screaming and clapping in the theater. And I was like the only one.
Yeah, I don't think I've had such a great time at a movie as Attack of the Clones. When Yoda was battling Count Dooku, people were going crazy. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I just heard an interview from Ahmed Best on one of the greatest podcasts out there. I was there too. And Ahmed Best was talking to Rob Coleman, the animation director, and he was reading the script and said, oh my goodness, Yoda is going to battle Count Dooku?
Crazy.
How are you going to do this? And Rob Coleman said, I've got no idea. So Ahmed Best, being a martial artist, said, you know what? Come back to my trailer. I get some videos to show you. And showed all these Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee videos and said, what if it looked like this? Suddenly Rob Coleman said, aha, that's it. I've got it. That's going to be perfect. I love it. And one of their ideas was just to have Yoda stand there while the lightsaber independently was floating around battling Count Dooku.
Oh, okay.
So Yoda wouldn't be bouncing off the walls like Flubber. He would just be sitting there very calmly with the lightsaber did all the work.
Wow.
But then George saw that and said, I like where you're going with this, but let's have Yoda connected to that lightsaber. So if you want to hear this full interview of Ahmed Best on the show I Was There Too, go to Earwolf Media. A great, great interview.
Cool.
I should have saved that for things that we want to share.
Well, that's okay. You know what? It's our podcast. We can do what we want to.
Exactly. This all kind of rolled into talking about one of my favorite Star Wars films, Attack of the Clones, and all these fun memories just flood back.
All right.
Now, with that, let's talk about this. Sarah, what time is it? Sarah?
It's 10:56. Good morning.
I did it.
First time ever.
Thanks for you guys helping me out.
Juan Mercado.
I have to keep
Juan Mercado
volume down.
says I have to keep the volume down since I'm at work. Doesn't everyone want to hear the excited Attack of the Clone story, Juan?
Right? Thank you for joining us, even though you're at work. That's awesome. All right. Well, coming up on this week's show, Richard.
We have a very, very special guest that I read about back in the pages of the official Star Wars fan club and Starlog magazine. Now, this was back in 1979. I read about this guest before you were born, my sweetie. And his name is Matthew Pak, and he won a contest to rival all contests, even to this day. Now, let's keep this a mystery until we talk with him in just a little bit. Okay, this is a really exciting
You're not
going to
tell them?
No. His name is Matthew Pak. You can try to look it up before we talked with him, but he won this contest, which I think I would have given up my life to have won back then.
Mm-hmm.
Just phenomenal. And now, just going through all these old Bantha tracks in these last few months, I ran across his name and the articles. I remember reading about him. I looked him up, sent him a message, and said, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" And he was all excited. So I can't wait to talk to him.
Yay. All right. Well, also on this episode, our fairy pod mother, Margaret Kerry, is back. And she is going to be doing her Ask Tink segment. So I'm so excited. She's everyone's favorite grandmother. And she, of course, is the Tinkerbell animation model. So
For the original Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And then we begin a new mini-series where we break down each season of the Clone Wars micro-series.
Yeah, what year is that from?
This is from 2003.
Okay.
Now, this is the Genndy Tartakovsky series, not the Dave Filoni series, titled The Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So the first Clone Wars iteration is Clone Wars. Second iteration is The Clone Wars.
So we will be looking at Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars.
Right.
All right.
And we'll be joined by our book reviewer, Jocasta Drew Kaplan, and Skywalker Nitzan Harel. We're going to have a great discussion. I haven't seen these episodes in I don't know how long.
Yeah, and it's a big part of Drew's fandom, and Nitzan and I had never seen these. So it's kind of a fun discussion.
Boy, this really is a tour through fandom for you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I love it. And on this episode, we also have shout-outs, Skywalker of the Week, and Things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
All right, Sarah, this was a big week for you. Now, I shared my Attack of the Clones story prematurely. What kind of stories do you have for this week? What do you want to share?
I have a lot of things to share because, for one thing, the Tinkerbell Half Marathon was this weekend. And also, something unexpected happened on Friday before the Half Marathon. So I'm going to head to that Friday first. I got to meet with two Ashleys. And what's fun about this is HerUniverse, Ashley Eckstein, partnered with artist Ashley Taylor to release a print and a shirt featuring Leia at her vanity. Ooh, and you know what? If you're watching this on YouTube right now.
Okay, you keep on talking.
Okay.
I'll go get it.
All right. Now, this print, it features Leia at her vanity. In the mirror is the image of Padme Amidala. She's as Amidala in the mirror. It's really beautiful. And it uses the colors black, white, and red, which were our wedding colors. Mm-hmm. So immediately I was drawn to this print. And basically what happened was we got 1 day's notice on social media, like HerUniverse. I happened to see this, that the Ashleys would be signing at the Wonderground Gallery in downtown Disney that Friday before Mother's Day. So whatever the date that actually was.
That was the 14th.
Okay. Okay.
May 14th, a.k.a. George Lucas's birthday.
Wait.
Tangent. Happy birthday, George Lucas.
No, so Friday was the...
Oh, I'm sorry.
12th.
Yes, I was jumping ahead.
Yes, that's okay. So this was actually the 12th, and she notified us on social media on, like, the 11th. And I happened to see it. I was glad. I was able to go down to the Wonderground Gallery and meet up. And I'm so excited that I was able to go. And of course, once you go to something that's Star Wars, part of the Star Wars family, you see people there that you always see. So I was so excited to see Sal Perales and his daughter. They're part of the Rogue Rebels. If you hashtag Rogue Rebels, you'll see them. And then also Jessica and Scott Mucko. I was so excited to see them. And it turned out great because Scott took the video that I have posted on our YouTube channel of me meeting with Ashley Taylor and Ashley Eckstein. And he took that video because Jessica told him to. And he was being a good husband. So thank you, Scott.
He was like K2SO.
Yeah.
What did you just drop?
No, it was my magnet thing that picks up.
Okay.
Okay. So yay! I was so excited.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend.
No, you weren't. Richard, you had to work. You had a job already. So, like I said, literally the day before, they're like, we're doing a signing. Come down. So it actually was nice because I got there half an hour before the signing started and there wasn't a big line. I was number 33 in line. And what you do at those signings, I didn't know this, but you go into the Wonderground Gallery like half an hour before and you can buy this print or the t-shirt. And then once you buy it, you get a little card that has your number in the meet and greet. You know, you basically have to buy something to meet them. That's how that works. And you could buy a postcard, you could buy an actual print, you could buy the t-shirt. And I opted for the nice print that was $40 because, you know, if they're going to sign it, you want to sign something really nice that's going to be framed. So that is what I did. And then we all kind of put ourselves in line. So I was number 33 and people were like, oh, I'm number 20. I'm going to get in front of you.
Oh, you are 33?
Yes.
That's a magical Disney number. Club 33.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Duh.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And Ashley was very excited to see you.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And if they want to see that video.
Yeah. If you guys want to see that video, just head to our YouTube channel, Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube, and you can see the entire thing. You know, we were being very girly. We all hugged. Both the Ashleys were so sweet. And I basically meet and greet with one Ashley, and then you wait to meet the next Ashley. It's just so funny to call them the Ashleys.
That was my favorite 80s sitcom. The two Ashleys, starring those Olsen twins.
Yes.
Loved it.
So it was kind of loud in the gallery itself. So the video is better to hear what they're saying. So we won't play the audio here. But I will actually tell you, Ashley told me the story about how this piece came about. And what happened was she commissioned it back in August of 2016. So Ashley Eckstein saw Ashley Taylor's other vanity pieces, artworks, and thought that she should definitely do one with Leia in front of her vanity and then have Padme in the mirror. Well, then the Hot Topic buyout happened, so the whole release schedule was delayed. Finally, right before Mother's Day, Ashley said, okay, we have to release this for Mother's Day. And that's kind of how it happened. It was like, oh, quick, here it goes. So yay.
If you were to write a story around this print, what would it be? You have Leia sitting at her vanity, reflecting.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently on Padme, and in the mirror is Padme and Leia, not looking at each other, but Padme's hand is holding Leia's face.
Aww. I think it's just a story, you know, Leia's being very introspective, just thinking of what it would be like if her mom had lived and they could be mother-daughter together. So I think it's just a longing that is expressed in this painting.
Do you think this takes place on Mother's Day in that galaxy far, far away? And that's why she's thinking about her mom?
I think it transcends Mother's Day.
Okay.
So I think, you know, you can think of your mom at any time.
Right. But being released on Mother's Day, I would think it would take place in that galaxy far, far away. She's thinking about her mom.
Okay.
Maybe they'll write a story around this that leads up to this moment.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that is my first thing I want to share.
Okay.
And now I have something else I'd like to share.
And this took place on George Lucas's birthday?
Yes,
May
it
14th?
did. Yes, it did. The Tinkerbell Half Marathon. Now, this was my 6th half marathon, and Richard, you did not attend. You never do the girl-centric ones, which is totally cool. So I
That's
decided...
not a commentary.
Oh, no.
I just preferred to sleep in that morning.
Yes, and you had a good sleep. I'm
And
glad.
I had to work that morning as well.
You woke up and found that I was on mile 9.
And I was on sleep hour 9.
Yes. All right, so the Tinkerbell Half Marathon, this is the 6th iteration of it, the 6th year, and they've made some changes. So I'm going to kind of go through what they've done and whether we like it or not.
They made some changes from the previous half marathons.
Yes, previous, like all the RunDisney half marathons.
For better or for worse?
At Disneyland.
Give us that.
So, mostly for worse, honestly.
Oh, that's not the Disney I know.
I know. So I'm just going to go into this a little bit. Now, in the park, you know, when you're running through the park, which is generally the first 4 miles of the 13.1 miles, it's always a great experience. Like, you get this feeling when you're running through the castle. It's amazing. And formerly at the TINK Half Marathon, they've always had each ferry at various locations. Well, this time, and it got a little old, honestly. Like last half marathon, I got a really good time because I never stopped for pictures because I've always gotten my pictures with them already. So this time they had like 3 ferries at one booth and then Tinkerbell and Fawn at another booth. And then along the route, they had like Mickey in his pirate gear and Pluto in his pirate gear. So they kind of went with the Pirates Neverland theme, and they had Chip and Dale as their little pirates gear. So I had to stop for Chip and Dale.
Oh, of course.
Yes. So the characters I stopped for were Chip and Dale on Main Street and Tinkerbell and Fawn near her Tinkerbell's Nook. So I was very Pixie Hollow. So I was very excited to see them. And
so far, so good.
Yeah. So I do like the fact that they had new, fresh characters there instead of just the fairies. Now, they have changed their volunteer policy. Formerly, you could sign up for volunteer shifts that you would give out water, or you would give out like the gear at the expo, things like that. And you'd sign up, if you signed up for 2 6-hour shifts, I believe, you got a free ticket to Disneyland. Well, they stopped that. They did not do that for this complete RunDisney weekend. They are now paid temp workers. So, for one thing, they're not as into it as the volunteers. And for another thing, there were less people handing out waters and stuff. In fact, when we came to the Cliff Bar exit, there was no one handing out the Cliff Bars. They were just on the tables. Oh. So I put some in my bag.
That's a plus.
Well, I guess
normally they would give you 1.
Yeah.
If you asked for 2, they would scowl at you.
I know.
But no, hey.
Yeah.
Doggy bag.
Yeah, so that was there. And then also, I think the bands and the cheerleaders, I don't know if these were volunteer positions, but there were way less bands along the route. In fact, there was only 1 band along the route in the Anaheim city proper, and 1 dance team dancing with that band, which meant boring along the streets of Anaheim. Like, usually you get, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different bands.
We've talked to some of these band kids before, and they said they get a lot of school credit for that.
Oh, interesting.
Not so much Disney passes.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that the less bands was due to the fact that Disney cut their entertainment budget. So I don't know what they were, like, offering to them. And also, the Red Hat Ladies, they're a group.
Who are they?
They're a group that dress in purple and red hats and outfits and things. Rebecca Whitebrock is asking, yes, it's the same route, but there was just less things along it. There's no cosplayers along it. There was no Red Hat Ladies. Oh. And the Red Hat Ladies, last year, I was doing the TINK Half Marathon between miles 7 and 8. That's like the hardest stretch right there. You know, you're in the middle of it. You're slogging through. And you turn the corner in that cute little cobblestone area of Anaheim.
I love that area.
And the Red Hat Ladies were all along that route cheering so loud. Like, I'm getting like as soon as I ran through there last year, I started tearing up because it was such a rush. It was so like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this and they're cheering and I don't know, the endorphins are flowing. It's just what happens. And this year, no red hat ladies in that area. And it was sad. So yeah, so overall, it was definitely it's becoming more of a regular half marathon race and not a Disney half marathon.
We could do that and pay a third of the price.
Exactly. This is my point. So, because the in-park experience was still great, 10K, 6.2 miles, nearly is in the parks the whole time. So I think that's the race that I really want to focus on in the future, because it's enough to feel like you've accomplished something, but it's not so boring outside of the parks.
Right. And you did go with a friend who unfortunately was swept.
Yes.
But good news, bad news.
Yeah.
She got to go through Star Wars Land.
Yeah, on the little bus that took her back to the expo area, they took her backstage Disney like through Star Wars Land. So she was swept at mile 4. Her ankle gave out.
Out of 13. Oh.
Yeah.
We'll leave her name out of it.
Yeah. Oh, and also, let's see, Rebecca's asking, so in each runDisney race, there's about 4 to 6 character meet and greets, depending on the race, really. So, and depending on the race theme, that's what characters you get. So it's really pretty fun. Yeah.
If I had known this about going through Star Wars Land, I would have signed up and conked out mile 4.
And you still get the medal, too.
Do you really?
You do. You get, so if you're doing a challenge, you don't get the challenge medal because you didn't complete the 10K and the half. So unfortunately, she was actually up for the Pixie Dust Challenge and did not get that really cool medal. It looked amazing. But she did get the, what is it? The half marathon medal, which, do you guys want to see the half marathon medal?
Oh, go get it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been really exciting to go backstage. I know I would have been jumping out of that golf cart and getting some pictures and to show everybody. However, if you do want to see some progression of Star Wars Land, go to our YouTube channel and you'll see the amazing progress they've made in like a week. We were there on May the 4th and then back there on May 11th, and these guys are motoring. These guys have a trajectory. She came back in costume.
I did. Okay.
She's got her Judy Hopps ears on. And her Tinkerbell half marathon medal. Hold on, you gotta clank it. It's the only way we know it's real. See, there we go. Now we know it's real.
Also, what's fun is since this was my 6th Tink half marathon, apparently even after 5 half marathons, you still get a legacy band. So because I've done 5 or more, you get a special yellow legacy half marathon band. So if you see it's a legacy runner, so when you go through the chute to pick up your medal, your race bib is flagged with a yellow color instead of green. And so they know to put you through to the legacy people. Isn't that cool?
Very cool.
Yeah. I thought that was neat. So there it is. It's different. It's not wings this time. It's this fun thing with little Tinkerbell.
So you had quite the weekend.
I did. It was really neat.
Well, very, very nice.
Yeah, I know that was a longer things we want to share, but I had a lot to share.
All right, now let's go ahead and share our discussion with Matthew Pak and find out what contest he won back in 1979 that made us so jealous. All right, now, here is Matthew Pak.
Be our guest, put our podcast to the test. Gather round the microphone and we will do the rest.
In 1979, a young man won a contest through the official Star Wars fan club that gave him the opportunity of a lifetime.
Skywalking Through Neverland is now catching up with contest winner Matthew Pak, so he can tell us what he won and how he won it.
Hey, Matthew.
Hello.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us. And you know what? I just want to say I remember reading about you in the official Star Wars fan club newsletter, and this was issue number 5 from 1979. But now let's start by telling people what it was that you won in this contest.
There was a contest in the Bantha Tracks newsletter, and it was to draw a Star Wars cartoon, just like something funny. I believe it was just like draw one panel cartoon, kind of like a Far Side, whatever. So I drew a picture of this funny thought I just had where it was like Chewbacca wearing the stormtrooper outfit and Luke wearing the handcuffs. And I'm going like, yeah, maybe, and of course Chewbacca, the fur sticking out of the neck and out the shoulders and out the knee hinge and everything like that. So it was just supposed to be just funny. So I drew the cartoon. I was a cartoonist back then, still am, but drawing cartoons, and I sent it off, and then I forgot about it. Completely forgot about it.
And you sent this into the official Star Wars fan club.
I sent it into the official Star Wars fan club, yeah.
And how old were you?
At the time I was 18, I believe, 18 years old.
Gotcha.
Right. I was a freshman at Virginia Tech. So I was, if I'm not mistaken, I was eating lunch somewhere. It might have been like a student union or something like that. And someone came running up and said, you got a phone call from home. And back then, there was no cell phones, and and there was and also they also had to tell you, and it was good news. They said it was nothing's bad, nothing's wrong, because back then, if you got a phone call from home, it could have been your dog died or something bad like that, But anyway, so I got the phone call from my mom, and she said, that Star Wars contest, we got a telegram. And I said, oh yeah, telegrams. That was a thing back then. Anyways, we got a telegram. I said, you won. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, what did I win? I said, no, you won the contest. You won the grand prize. You won the trip to England to go see the shooting of the next Star Wars movie.
What?
I was like, what?
And of course, that next Star Wars movie was The Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
Exactly. Right. And so this was like right after Star Wars, of course, being the biggest movie of all time at the time, was the cultural phenomenon that no one had ever seen anything like that. And so, people were so excited about that. And here it was like, oh, you're going to go to the set and see it. And it was like, no, I mean,
I couldn't even fathom that.
Right. And I never expected, what I'm saying? It's just like when you enter the Publishers Clearinghouse, but you don't really expect to win the Publishers Clearinghouse. You don't really think that your cartoon is that great. I mean, it was just a quick drawing. It wasn't like I spent a lot of time with gouaches and watercolors and things like that, But, I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. So it was completely not expected. I didn't even have fantasies about winning. It wasn't like, wouldn't it be cool if I won? It was like, what? So the whole thing, even now, has a sort of sense of unreality to it. It doesn't, it still doesn't seem like, did that really happen?
Wow.
So when you hung the phone up, were you bouncing off the walls telling everyone where you were going next week? Or how long was it until you actually went?
It was a little while. And I don't, unfortunately, I don't have record of how long it was. It might have been a month. It might have been a couple of months. But only thing I do remember was, and I told my roommate, and I told a couple of people, but a lot of people didn't. Even back then, it's not something I wanted to brag about, because also, you don't want to be like Barney Fife and shooting your mouth off. Yeah, I'm going to be going to England to see Star Wars, and then have it fall apart, and then it's like you're left with the bragging, and it didn't really happen.
Yes.
But what was funny though is that back when I was at Virginia Tech, I was there for 1 year. Everyone called me Darth. Now I don't know why. I think it was because I was a Star Wars fan. But it was like they just said Darth, hey, Darth, like that, and it didn't bother me because it didn't seem like an insult or anything, but it was quite a thing. But I do remember having to go to the administrator and having to put in a request for several days off.
Okay.
So I could take time off from classes to actually go on a trip to England, and I had to get permission.
Just for your own records, it was 38 years ago next week, on May 22nd, 1979, that you visited the set. I did some research.
Yeah. I had to look it up, too, because I'm trying to remember, was it April or May, and I had to look it up. And yes, you're right. 38 years, my goodness. Oh my gosh.
And this was the first day that the Echo Base set had opened up to the public, and they were going to do a big press event and have all this fanfare, which, being on a tight schedule, they just said, no, we can't. We just got to get Matthew in here, and let's move on with the day.
Right. That's exactly right. It is. No, it's exactly. I mean, I found out about this later reading the books about what was going on, because at the time I didn't know. It was like you go and, you're there and they push you through and they take pictures and then you're done. I was there, I think, just 2 days, I think. I mean, I was only there on set one day.
Okay.
And then we returned home. So we got a day. We arrived in London, and they were very nice. And we got like a taxi cab or a tour guide of like London a little bit, which was very nice. Got to see Buckingham Palace. Like most of it was seen from the car, but we actually stopped and went into the Abbey and several other places. It was just very, very interesting to be there.
So now that you're on the plane going to England, what was your thought process then? Did it sink in at that point?
No, because it was all still it was surreal before and surreal during and surreal after, because we weren't really told what was going to happen. We just had our basic information about that it's going to be this and that and whatever, and that it's dependent on. We were given warnings. We were dependent on the schedule, that it could have been canceled. It might be that they can't do it or something happened. And it's like, sure, understood, whatever. They said, even if it's canceled, we'll still find a way for you to talk, to see somebody. Hopefully you might get to meet somebody or get to go to where they're shooting something or blah, 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 whatever.
Then your nickname at college wouldn't have been Darth. Then it really would have been Barney Fife.
That's right.
Yeah, Matthew. Sure, you went to England. Sure.
Exactly.
Saw Star Wars 2 being filmed. Okay. Now, I'll go back to Mayberry.
I really don't brag about stuff. It's just like my nature. And of course the darndest thing was, I remember I did buy a brand new camera for the experience. And it wasn't like, it wasn't expensive 35 millimeter camera, but it was like a really nice Kodak, the type with the cartridges that you load, and it had a built-in flash and everything like that. And unfortunately, I couldn't use it, but I had it ready to go just in case.
Oh no!
But I did take some pictures around London, but not the actual. Once you went into the studio, it was like that was the number one. First thing they told us: no cameras, absolutely no cameras.
Okay.
So we had to leave it in the car.
Now, were you with anyone?
I was with my mother. My mother came with me, but I could bring a friend or a relative. There was it was up to 2 people who were allowed. So I brought my mother.
Nice.
And she was delighted. She had a great time. And it was quite fun, and it wasn't what do you call it? Because I was so young back then, and it was all about Star Wars. So it wasn't like a movie where you're thinking about someone's cramping my style. It's like, oh God, mom's here.
Right.
Well, she did give birth to you, so I guess now you two are even.
Right, exactly. But some of my friends are going like, I know some places there you got to check out, some of these nightclubs and places like that. And it's like, yeah, dude, okay. I don't want to end up in London jail or something.
Right.
So now you pull up to Elstree Studios, and what's going through your head at that point?
It was just overwhelming. Again, I can barely remember except the vague details. I do remember the ride. We had a car ride going there, and on the way, I believe we passed where the studio was, where they shot the Muppets. Because the driver said, "Oh yeah, that's where they're shooting the Muppet Show." Because that was new at the time, or popular at the time. He said, "Over there, way over there, that's where they're shooting the Muppets." And it was like, "Whoa!" And that was pretty impressive. But again, because we were very much in the dark. It was pretty much like you're just going to go and you're going to have a handler and a person and everybody was very nice.
So, do they make a big presentation before they open the big soundstage doors to reveal the Echo Base set?
No, they didn't. No, that didn't happen. We had a guide.
John Williams wasn't off to the side with his orchestra playing this big fanfare. That's the way I'm envisioning this.
But here's the thing, though. We go there, and of course, it looks like a warehouse. When you're there, you drive in. It's just like a great big warehouse. It's just
on the outside.
Yeah, on the outside. we're walking in, and as we're walking in, walking out is Billy Dee Williams. Oh. And yeah, now I knew who he was before Star Wars, before The Empire Strikes Back, of course. Now we didn't get to say hello to him or meet him or anything, unfortunately, like that. He was dressed very, very dapper. He had like a full suit on and everything, and he had a camera.
With a cape?
No, didn't have a cape, but he had like the style of the 70s. Like it might have been a double-breasted suit. I don't recall the details,
wow.
And unfortunately, no photographs. But he was there. He was there taking photographs of the set. He was allowed to bring a camera. We weren't. So he had a camera in his hands walking out. He had a big grin on his face. And he said, hello. People walked by and he said, hello, hi, hello. And so we're just going by. That we could have been anybody. You know, it didn't matter who we were. It was just, it was Billy Dee Williams. Oh, my goodness. So we didn't get to meet him, but we got to see him leaving. So then when we go in, that's where you just like you're walking into a warehouse. You pass like a little tiny bit, and then you're right there in the freaking Echo base, and that is a big treat for anybody, especially now because everything is shot with green screens and everything. You know, they use different types of ways, but they actually had built the whole ice cave, the whole Echo base there. It was all there.
Wow! And
it was enormous. It was just the biggest thing you'd ever seen. And the very first thing we see as we're walking in is we see a full-size Millennium Falcon.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, did you get to, like, walk up to the Millennium Falcon?
And into?
Well, only up to the landing struts. We didn't actually get to go into it or whatever. But it was impressive, and they were explaining to me, we were just walking. They were telling me about some of the details. And one of the things they were told me about was how the original movie they built, the Millennium Falcon, was made out of plywood. It was made barely to hold together. And so now that Star Wars is a big franchise, they said they needed to invest and actually build a full-size Millennium Falcon.
Wow.
So this model, it's life-size, was so good, but I mean, it's so detailed that you can see from the ground, we're looking up, you can see the cockpit, you can see all the lights blinking on and off in the cockpit. So it was like you're really there. It was truly astonishing because it wasn't just like a model or a projection.
Wow.
It was the real thing. It looked like it could actually fly.
Now, Richard, if you were in Matthew's shoes, what rules would you have broken?
I would have broken
to get on that Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon's got a ton of red buttons. I would have been pressing them all. And I'd be going around looking for the Kenner insignia just to make sure this was the real deal.
Aww.
Oh my good!
That's right.
I don't even know how I would handle myself.
I know. I think you'd like faint.
I know.
I'd miss the whole thing.
Right. Well, yeah. Hindsight, in retrospect, yeah, I should have been a lot more bolder. I should have just. Because what are they going to? Well, I guess they'd throw us out, but I mean, we could have been a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or I could have.
And plus, they had X-wings and snow speeders on the same set too, right?
Yes. They had. It was all there. What was very interesting though is the rest of it was all very fake looking. I mean, the cave itself very impressive, but the X-wings were only the noses of the X-wings. That was it. And what? They were the noses went into the wall, and the wall had paintings of the rest of the wings. So it was a perspective.
Wow.
It was a perspective painting. And they were explaining to me that how this would on camera this would look convincing and et cetera, et cetera. But they had the snow speeders, and of course, remember I didn't know anything about the script or the story or anything. So it's very overwhelming. You're going like, whoa, because there was no snow in the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
right.
Big sand planet. Now you're on a snow planet.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not explain the plot to me at all. They just said this is like a I didn't know if this is the beginning of the movie, the end of the movie, the middle of the movie. It was just like, this is the Rebels base, on the ice planet. And so yeah, that was amazing that there was like they had full size snow speeders. But as far as the X-wings were concerned, they were only the noses. There might have been at least 3 of them, and they just went into the wall, and the wall had the rest of it was painted in perspective.
Okay, and what about like the hangar door?
The hangar door, that was really cool because it was it looks enormous on screen, but it was really only about the size of like 2 garage doors put together.
Wow.
And that was the thing about it. It was like they were explaining that the way it was going to be. This is the opening of the cave, and when you look at it, you go, wow, that's not very big. I mean, the Millennium Falcon couldn't even, I mean, a car could barely get out of there. But we were very fortunate because while we were there, see, they had different units, I guess that's what they call it. Different units were shooting simultaneously different scenes, all related there. So we actually got to see a lot of the iconic scenes being shot while we were there. So the one thing we did see there is when they had to close the base doors, and Chewbacca, goes, ah, and he's all sad because Han Solo and Luke are outside, and the 2 robots were there. Oh, of course, C-3PO and R2-D2 are there, full size, and especially the lights on R2. It's just amazing because it's like, wow, that's really R2-D2. But yeah, it was great because you saw him get upset and cry because they had to close the doors, but the doors were very small. And I do remember later in the movie when they escape, there's a scene where the Millennium Falcon takes off and leaves the ice cave, and you see it go out the door. And I was going like, okay, that's how big it was supposed to be.
Now it all makes sense.
Right.
Wow.
The other things that we saw them shoot was when Han Solo was walking up to the Millennium Falcon, and Chewbacca was on top working on it, trying to fix it, and they're talking back and forth.
All right, don't lose your temper. I'll come right back and give you a hand.
So we saw that scene being played. Of course, there's no sound coming. Well, the Wookiees just pantomime because they put in the sound, the sounds he makes later. But that was Peter Mayhew in full costume working there above it, and Han Solo walking by and taking off his gloves and shouting up to him. And then what was great was it was later in the day, we got to see Princess Leia give her speech to the rebel troops as they're trying to evacuate.
All troop carriers will assemble at the north entrance. The heavy transport ships will leave as soon as they're loaded. Only 2 fighter escorts per ship. The energy shield can only be opened for a short time, so you'll have to stay very close to your transports.
2 fighters against a Star Destroyer?
The ion cannon will fire several shots to make sure that any enemy ships will be out of your flight path. When you've gotten past the energy shield, proceed directly to the rendezvous point. Understood? Yeah. Good luck.
And that was really great. And everybody was just, it was just great to actually see that going on. But they were filming everything they could simultaneously to use up, to do everything as quickly as possible.
Wow, that seems crazy. Now, I guess you never saw Luke then.
I did not see him. I got to meet Mark Hamill, but I did not see them shoot with him because I don't think he actually had any scenes in the ice cave, if I'm not mistaken. Remember, he was outside riding the Tauntaun, and then he got kidnapped.
The only time, exactly. I think the only time he's ever in that hangar is when they're about to go fight the battle.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, then he jumps in a snowspeeder right before the
Battle
Walker
of
attack.
Hoth.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, this just shows you how fuzzy my memory is. We did get to see Luke and Dak, I remember that name too, get into the snowspeeder, and as it's rising up to take off.
Feeling all right, sir?
Just like new, Dak. How about you?
Right now, I feel like I can take on the whole Empire myself.
I know what you mean.
Which was on a forklift. That's how it got up. It was like literally there was a forklift behind the snowspeeder out of sight of the camera, and they just the forklift was, So we actually did get to. I'm sorry. See, I'm glad now. I'm reliving these memories. So I got to see Luke Skywalker in his X-wing, his orange Rebel flight suit, with Dak in the snowspeeder as they're going out to fight the giant AT-ATs.
Wow.
Or AT-ATs. Or AT-ATs, however you want to pronounce it.
Wait, it blows my mind that you got to see Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, R2 and 3PO. Not the actors, but you got to see the real characters come to life right there in front of you.
I did get to meet Kenny Baker. And Peter Mayhew, because we did have lunch. That was actually probably the best. Even though it was exciting to be in the Hoth Cave, to actually sit down and have lunch with the actors, that was terrific.
Yeah.
And so we got to meet Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Peter Mayhew, and Carrie Fisher, of course, who was wow, you know,
yeah.
for an 18-year-old guy in 1979, and there's Carrie Fisher, you know, I mean, come on.
Like, wow. And she's like what, 20?
Yeah, she was like 21.
She was not that much older than me.
Right.
Now, one thing I can tell you, the lunch was very nice, and everyone was pleasant. Oh, a couple of anecdotes I did want to share. One thing that was funny was my mother was on the set. There was a hairdresser, because right there on the set, they have like the places where they do hair and makeup and whatever. So my mom was sitting down on a chair, and she told me about this afterwards. I wasn't with her at the time. I was standing somewhere else. And there was like a hairdresser, I think it was a man, who said, "I am so bleeping bored." Ugh. He just was he was unhappy because, and I understand that, because to a lot of people, Star Wars or science fiction or superhero movies, they're just not their thing. They're more into real, costume drama or things that are more into their niche. So he was like going, "I am so bleeping bored." And this lady like nudged him with her elbow and said, "Watch your mouth. I think that's Mark Hamill's mother right over there," and pointed at my mother. So that was too cool. So they thought they thought my mom was Mark Hamill's mom visiting the set. So
then did you walk around the whole day saying, "Yep, I'm Mark Hamill, everyone. I'm Mark Hamill. I look much different than in the first movie."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not just the nose job. Now, what kind of interactions did you have with each of the actors?
Well, that was really great. When we did the lunch, when we got to meet Harrison Ford, and this was like really touching at the time. Before we ate, he paused and he said grace. I mean, you know, privately, he didn't say it out loud, but we were like touched by that. It was like, oh, because it's like he's a real person. Okay, wow. So no, you know, and I mean, I know that sounds silly, and I don't mean that, but I just mean it was very like, you know, of course, it impressed me and impressed my mom, of course. But so, and then he asked, they asked all about us, and it was like we wanted to ask about them, but they're asking about us. How was your trip? You know. And then we got the same treatment from all of them. It was like, you know, especially Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford couldn't have been nicer. And they were literally eating lunch, you know, so it was like their lunch break. So they were just happy to talk to people. And I think I was thinking at the time they were happy that we were not slobbering fans. You know, we were not like, "Oh my God." You know, like
yeah, you were like normal people,
wide-eyed, you know, drooling, you know, crazy,
like Richard would be over here.
Yeah,
no,
I would have to hide. I would have to hide my fandom and just play it so cool that I think I would just pass out.
Well,
again,
right now, listening to you, Matthew, Richard is like red, turning green, and little steam is coming out of his ears.
Green with envy and red that I couldn't be there with you.
Yeah, see, I wasn't born yet, so I don't feel this so much. I just like hearing the stories.
Oh, gotcha. But I mean, it would be like I tried to explain to some other people. It would be like the same people who love the Guardians of the Galaxy now. So like, imagine, you know, going somewhere and you're sitting down. You hang out with Chris Pratt. You know.
Yeah, but unlike back then, you couldn't contact these people on Twitter and social media.
No, there was no
such thing. You had to win a contest.
Right. And it was like, and you're still going like, now what was the point of this contest? I mean, how does this help them? Helps me a great deal. I guess it's publicity. I don't, you know, I'm not putting it down. I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth, but it's like, you can see now where, you know, with the internet and with you know, all the cable channels and everything like that, you know, they still do things like that. They're having the things for Star Wars for charity, but it's just amazing to think like, wow, it's like they were actually flying you out there to London to go to the set, and you're just nobody. You're no, you know what I mean? You're just a fan. You're just representative of all the different people, and it was just like a terrific thing.
That's one thing Star Wars has been very good at, is just being good to the fans and understanding the mindset of fans.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of what they were doing with their contest, and also just outreach. I mean, when we put on contests, we hope that there's a few new people who see the giveaway or whatever and click on it and maybe learn a bit about us
Right.
and our things. So, you know, that's kind of the point
Right.
of giveaways.
I think because it was the official Star Wars club, the Bantha Tracks, that was, and remember, when I was growing up, you joined a lot of fan clubs, and mostly all you got was a magazine and an iron-on patch and an official membership card. And that was really it. You know, there really wasn't any interaction. You joined the G.I. Joe club, you got a magazine.
You got to say you're a member of the club.
And you got your card you could put in your little wallet and say, yes, I'm an official member of blah club or whatever. But that's just is amazing that it actually meant something and that it did something, for all those people, for all the people that came later. But just an amazing thing.
We're going to take a break from our discussion with Matthew Pak, the winner of the Bantha Tracks Contest, for a set visit to The Empire Strikes Back, and hear from some other great podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Mike, and along with my good buddy Matt, we both host Home One Hangout. Home One Hangout is a bi-weekly Star Wars news and discussion podcast. Every week we'll talk about the latest in the movies, video games, books, basically everything that has something to do with Star Wars. In every episode, we have an in-depth discussion or debate about something in Star Wars, something that we've really wanted to talk about, or something that the listeners suggest because we love it when the listeners get involved. We would be honored if you would join us. You can find us on Podbean, Stitcher, or iTunes, and you can follow us on Twitter at HomeOneHangout. You can find our website at homeonehangout.podbean.com, and thank you so much for your support, and may the Force be with you.
Each and every week, Disney Blue presents Disney on Demand, your free, dedicated Disney podcast hosted by Jonathan Johnson. Every week, Disney Blue relives all the Disney magic, movies, and memories. Every week, you'll hear our celebrity guests who make the magic, your favorite Disney actors, writers, directors, and characters. The best of classic Disney and breaking news on Disney's latest films, television shows, and theme parks. So put on your ears and give it a little bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. Disney Blues Disney on Demand is on the air, and it's free. Just go to DizRadio.com. That's DIZRadio.com. See you real soon.
And now let's continue hearing awesome stories from the set of The Empire Strikes Back from Matthew Pak.
Now, I've seen some behind-the-scenes pictures that you had sent over of you and Gary Kurtz talking with a video crew.
Ooh.
Yes.
Was this ever released as promotional video? Because I don't recall ever seeing this.
I never saw it myself. I don't remember seeing it. I know that they were filming us and we were just talking. If my Swiss cheese memory was, I think I was talking about how many Star Wars movies were there going to be, because that was the question everybody had. It was like, were you going to keep making Star Wars all the time, or was there going to be a set number? I think there was just like that. It was just like talking. I got to meet the director, Irving Kershner, who I now, of course, have even more respect for all the different movies he's done. But at the time, it was, he was just, here's the director of the movie. Okay, that's very interesting. Why isn't George Lucas directing this? But it's okay.
Oh, interesting.
But
so as far as you know, this video footage was never released?
As far as I know, it was never released. I don't recall. The closest thing I can tell you, because I have to admit, when I watched some of those making of Star Wars specials, I kept looking to see, are we in there? Because I know they had crews, shooting behind the scenes footage of things. And if I'm not mistaken, there was, of course, this goes back, but where I first heard about Star Wars, before even the movie came out or before anybody else had even, because there was no internet, there was no Entertainment Tonight, there was no kind of news. There was a magazine called Media Scene that was run by Jim Steranko. In fact, it started off as Comic Scene, and I think it's still around, but it was like the first magazine. It was like a newsprint magazine that had pictures of Ralph McQuarrie's paintings of Star Wars, showing this is a new movie coming out in the summer of 1977 called The Star Wars. Later, there was later, because I still had a subscription to it, there was a photograph of the ice cave of Echo Base, and there were two shadowy figures standing next to a snowspeeder, and I said, "Is that me and my mom?" I could say it is, but I can't say for sure. So it's like, that's kind of funny that here's media scenes where I first heard about Star Wars, and then later we actually are in media scene. Well, that was.
Well, if you want to start that, we'll back you up.
We could, if I find it again, I can. Maybe I could have a forensic person now. They can actually say, "Well, let's see, how tall are you?" and blah blah blah. And said, "Yeah, that could be the two of you, those two shadows." But yeah, as far as I know, that never was the photograph of, I think, me talking to either Irving Kershner or Gary Kurtz was in Starlog magazine later. Which at the time, that was the big, that was the big science fiction magazine. I think that launched in '76. It was predominantly for Star Trek when it started. Then after Star Wars, the big science fiction boom came.
So Sarah, this was like Twitter, but in magazine form, and once a month.
Oh, before that, all that existed was Famous Monsters magazine. That was for all the people who like horror movies, and they included science fiction in that as well. But
when Star Wars came along, you had to sell magazines.
Right,
That's the way to do it.
Right.
And then your story was also noted in the Once Upon a Galaxy, a journal of the making of Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back by Alan Arnold.
Yes.
Now, is this in a magazine or is
this was a soft cover mass market book about the making of The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Okay.
By Alan Arnold, who was the publicist at the time.
Oh, okay, right. And my name was spelled wrong. But it's okay.
Oh,
well, it was spelled P-A-C-K, like Pak, as opposed to P-A-K, which can be pronounced Pak or Pak. It doesn't matter. And I wasn't upset because that happens to me so often. It's like, hey, I can still point out and say that's my name. They just misspelled it and go, oh, that's cool. But in the 2010 book that came out, the hardcover book that was the making of Empire Strikes Back, they spelled my name right. I was so pleased.
There you go. You're now a Star Wars footnote.
You're canon.
Yeah.
But I did want to remember to bring up two little stories, or three or whatever. But anyways, when we were at the lunch,
as you want.
Yeah. There's a photograph that was taken of me and Carrie Fisher, and we were. You'd think it was a publicity, but it was actually real. She was getting ready to shoot that scene after lunch. It was the scene where she rallies the troops and tells them you're going to have to escape, and with 2 transports at a time, and you got to get through the force field and whatever. So I'm actually helping her remember the lines. So she's actually reading the script, and she's doing that. And I have to admit, even I was going like, I don't understand what we're saying here. It's
what an interesting perspective.
They'll be firing, and then you'll be able to get through the force field to open, and you'll be able to go out in 2 transports at a time, and blah 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 blah. And then
you weren't the only one thinking that. She was thinking the same thing.
Exactly. And then it was really very nice because afterwards, after we read it, she said, "Matt, how many Planet of the Apes movies were there?" And because I was a nerd, I knew. I said 5, and she went, "Oh." And I think she was at first. It's like that she offended me, and I was like, "No, that's fine." But I get it. I knew. And of course, she was just. And I have to say, these as a side thing, all these, her and the other people, they look good in real life. You know what I mean? Up close, as opposed to sometimes you meet. I've met celebrities in the past, mostly local ones, and when you meet them in the flesh, it's like they look better on camera than they do in person. These people looked great. Great.
Carrie Fisher during the making of the Star Wars films.
Carrie Fisher, she was a doll, and I could tell, and I was sort of, and as a fan, I was going like, oh, please keep doing Star Wars movies. And as it turned out, it was actually Harrison Ford who was the least enchanted. He's the one who wanted to be killed off.
Right. Right, but he how did he look? Did he tower above everyone?
Yeah, he was. Yes, just a handsome guy, and Mark Hamill, I guess, not a tall man,
super
but
nice.
Still, and they're young. I mean, this is 1979, so this was only I guess Star Wars was filmed in 76, so it was only just a couple of years, 2-3 years from the original movie when it was shot. So.
Let's go back to Carrie Fisher.
Okay.
Now, did she pull you aside and say, "Hey, I need someone to help me run lines"? How did that happen?
No, it was actually sitting at lunch. We were talking, and I think because my mother and she's still with us. She's still doing good, but she was talking to I think it was the way the table was set up. I was sitting across from Harrison Ford. My mother was sitting closer to Peter Mayhew and Mark Hamill. So I was actually seated next to Carrie Fisher. So that's where it came up. And she actually just said, and it wasn't fake or anything. It was just like, hey, help me. I gotta learn these lines. Help me read these over with me. And so I did. And like I said, but I felt for her because it was like, it just seemed like a lot of, and then when I later saw the movie, I said, "Oh, now I understand what they're saying." Not really. It's still kind of complicated.
If only you could go back, you could tell Carrie, "Hey, this big kissing scene between you and Luke?
That's right.
Refuse to shoot that, and that'll make sense later on."
Oh my goodness.
Well, I have a question about some of the scenes that you saw.
Okay.
Like one of my favorite scenes is when you first go into the hangar, you see Harrison Ford get off his tauntaun and take off his hood.
Goggles
and he like shakes his hair and I'm like, oh, amazing. Did you get to see that scene being
No,
filmed?
I did not see a tauntaun. I did not get to see any of the stuff I didn't see any tauntauns or giant tauntauns.
Okay.
One thing that was also nice though, I was going to bring up is that I did go back in the offices that were connected to the set.
Ooh.
So I got to see the people. There was at least I think 2 fellows working in an electronics shop, and they had all kinds of it was like something out of a science fiction movie itself. All kinds of radio parts and things, and they were making R2D2. So when I was in there and they're showing me around, it was official. They're showing us around. I looked at the R2D2. It was headless. It just had a body, and I looked over at it, and the guy said, "Don't look in there. You're not allowed to look in there." And then I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And he was just kidding. He was just kidding. But at first I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get thrown out. What did I do?"
Kenny Baker was in there taking a nap. Do not disturb him.
Right.
Do not disturb him.
Right.
Well, what was in there? Was it like a remote control one and not a Kenny Baker one?
It was just electronic parts. I mean, I couldn't. What 18-year-old kid? What would I know? Remember back then we didn't have radio control. I think the first R2D2 toy had a clicker on it. It didn't even have radio controls. Like click, click, click. You had to click it to make it move. So it was like battery operated. But the other thing that was very interesting was we did look around some of the design shops. I didn't see any monsters or aliens or things like that, but there was, and I do remember it, there was a tree house. There was a house that was made out of foam core and cardboard. It was like a model. And so it was like this sort of like a cutaway of a tree house, and you could see inside of it there was a man sitting down, and they said, "That's Luke Skywalker," and there was an elf next to him. And I said, "Well, who's that?" And he said, "Oh, that's just some alien." Now, of course, he didn't look anything at all like Yoda, but that was Yoda. That was supposed to be Yoda, and what I saw looked a lot more like an elf from Labyrinth or something like that. It didn't look like the Yoda we know now, but so that was kind of cool. So I did get to see a preview of Yoda. Oh, I will tell you another thing, and that just it's a lack of a story, not a story, but it's like at the time the Star Wars holiday special had come out, and of course we had Boba Fett in the cartoon, and so everyone was excited about Boba Fett because we thought Boba Fett was going to be a really big character. He is now, but we thought he would be like really important to the plot, like he'd be like a major character or major villain. I never saw Boba Fett. I never saw anything that resembled Boba Fett. I even kind of asked about Boba Fett, and they said, I don't know who you're talking about. Okay.
It's kind of like Captain Phasma is to The Force Awakens.
Right,
A
right.
little bit.
Yeah, well, that was like a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, of course, now Boba Fett is a cult figure now, and he's everyone's excited about him. But at the time, he was sort of like they even like pushed the toy, like they had a Boba Fett action figure coming out that you could send away if you cut out the proof of purchases, and he was in that little cartoon. But yeah, when the actual movie came out, I was surprised that Boba Fett is still impressive, but did not play. He was just a bounty hunter, and he's the one who captured Han Solo, and they never actually even said his name in the movie. I mean, his name is in the credits. Boba Fett played by, was it Jeremy Bullock, I think his name is?
Yep.
But Boba Fett's name is not actually mentioned in Star Wars until Return of the Jedi.
Right.
He gets knocked over by the blind man into the pit to be digested for 1,000 years. Well, we know officially now he's still kicking around, so.
You know, on your website that documents your set visit with some great pictures, jackmagic.com, you say that you carved your initials into the Echo Base wall.
I cannot. Did I say that?
Yes,
yeah, that
you
might have been
did.
my one act of defiance. Whatever. It was like we were in a set, left alone at some point, and it was all styrofoam, and we're looking at it going like, oh, okay. So it was like the caves, and I think it was it was a scene where there were going to be more wampas were supposed to originally be tearing into Echo Base, because I think that's like in the movie, some of the ice falls and drops on top of R2-D2, and of course that's supposed to be the giant Empire AT-ATs coming, but I think originally it was supposed to be, and I think they just cut the scene because it was overkill. But anyway, so there was a lot more of the ice caves there. There might have been time for someone to have taken like a stick or something, and maybe he might have put his initials in the styrofoam. I don't know if that happened or not, but it's very possible.
Now that you mention it, there were two big ice chunks that fell on R2's head. One had an M and one had a P
Yes!
on it. Now that all makes sense.
Should have made sense. Oh my goodness. Well, I think I when I talked to you earlier, I said I didn't ask. I was so happy to be there and just delighted. But yeah, if someone had said, we're short a rebel trooper, can we get this kid to put on one of these helmets and just stand over there? I was like, yeah. Oh, I would have loved to have just, even if they covered my head completely and you wouldn't have seen me any part of my skin, I would have loved to have just been part of the freaking movie. I mean, I was part of the movie behind the scenes, which is just as important and just as impressive, and in a way, to have access like that no one else could, or very few people would, unless they were professionals. But yeah, would I have loved to have been in that movie?
And that's how they made the Echo Base hangar look so big. They put kids in the background.
Right.
Oh, right.
that forced perspective would make you think that there was a big people over there, but they're just kids 10 feet away.
38 years ago, I was so skinny. I was so skinny 38 years ago.
Yeah,
I looked like a stick figure. But yeah, one last thing is that the other thing that was I got to meet Ralph Mcquarrie, the artist, in his studio, and it was really great because he was actually working on a lot of the designs. I guess they're working on them as they go along. I guess So he actually had a full artist studio with a big drawing board, and I got to meet him and say, oh, because I was an artist, and still am, and it's like, that was just like the icing on the cake to meet him. And so I had with me a rolled up piece of paper. So I put the piece of paper down in front of him and said, Mr. Mcquarrie, would you? And he was like, he looked at me with this horrified look on his face, like, you want me to draw you a picture? I said, oh, no, I want you to just autograph it, please. Because I think he was like the first person I got to autograph it. So I still have the piece of paper. I need to have it framed. The problem was I wanted to get a lot more signatures on it. And in fact, that's one of my goals is to finish, because the paper is it's sort of crooked because it's not signed straight up and down. It's like all these signatures are clumped on one side in a semicircle. So I need to get some more people to sign it, so then I can actually frame it. It would be just wonderful. But yeah, I do remember that. I felt really embarrassed about that. It's like, no, you're an artist here. Draw me a picture. I just wanted to.
I'm glad you got that.
Yes.
Now, on your way home, did they give you like a big swag bag?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe with Carrie Fisher's phone number?
No. Unfortunately, no. We did get, and they gave it to both me and my mom. We did get like passports. They were like fake passports that were marked like Tatooine, Hoth, and Bespin, which I didn't know what the heck that was at the time. So they are like these sort of like fake things, and I got like a movie patch, like the patch that the crew wore. But it didn't really get a lot of swag, and didn't know to complain about that, Well, I didn't know, and I really should. Like I said, I should have been bolder because, like, a lot of times, people say, "Well, can I have a piece of the set? Can you give me?" How about? I guess I couldn't take a gun because even then they would have like looked at me sideways if I tried to get that through customs. But something from the set would have been. I should have asked Carrie Fisher for
her phone number.
A kiss.
A kiss.
No, I would have been too dang shy back then. Yeah, I was too shy.
Aww.
Too shy. No.
I would have hoped you would have gotten at least a call sheet or a progress report or something that they would have just thrown away that night.
I knew we just wanted to behave ourselves. I knew I could have snuck the camera in and I could have taken some pictures, but I just didn't want to risk it, and I didn't want to be, And I'm not talking about taking pictures to take to the National Enquirer. I'm talking about would have been for myself. So I do. Right. My biggest regret is not being able to take a camera in there, to take pictures of just like. But they sent us those lovely photographs afterwards. They came in the mail afterwards. Those publicity photographs. So that was nice.
Next week, we have Gary Kurtz on the show, and I'm going to ask him about that footage, because I really want to see the footage that was taken during your set visit.
Wow. I would love that. That would just be awesome.
I mean, this is such a life-changing experience. How has it changed your life?
Well, it really did change my life, because I was a biology major at Virginia Tech. I was always an artist. I was always a cartoonist and a person who drew. And I was, of course, the class artist and did a lot of posters and things like that and comics and whatever. But I really didn't want to be it's hard to explain. It was a different world back then. But, parents are sending you to college and, my dad wanted a doctor. And I knew I didn't really want to be a doctor because I have the aptitude for it, but I just don't relish
the whole passion for it.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, it was like, okay, so if I actually want to content, and supposedly now, that was supposedly what they said. Supposedly George Lucas himself picked the cartoon as the winner. Wow. It wasn't just someone in the office. Supposedly George Lucas himself picked the cartoon, but by having that, I was able to convince my parents that I should transfer to an art college. So I ended up going to Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU in Richmond, and took a major. I took actually a mixed major as media arts and filmmaking. Oh. So I don't know where I'd be without that. I don't know how the things would have shaked out. But and I also went from being just like a cartoonist to being a full artist. I mean, really polished my craft. I know I'm a much better artist now than I was back then. And I became a film editor, and I was also help assist the company artist out with his artwork. And back then we used to do newspaper ads because that was how you promoted television shows and things like that. And then later I ended up co-hosting a local horror movie show. So kind of like Elvira, except not with two guys. So
not at all like Elvira.
Not at all like Elvira. No, but yeah, we grew up. There was a local horror movie host called the Bowman Body that when I was a kid, that was like and everyone loved him, and there was a lot more local television back then. We had kid show hosts and stuff, and we had the Bowman Body, so that I ended up becoming like the Bowman Body, becoming a horror movie host, and we still do it off and on. We recently, at the end of the month, we did a guest hosted a show that's on PBS, so I got to be an actor, I got to be a writer. Got to be an artist, video editor, video producer. So yeah, I really think that the whole experience paved its way for me to change. So it changed my life from being a biology a biology major.
Your whole career path.
Pigs. So yeah,
it's amazing hearing all these stories from different people whose lives were changed because of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Only you took it one step further, and you saw Star Wars live.
Oh,
it wasn't just on the big screen, but you got to be in that environment.
Yeah.
So that had to have changed you.
Oh, absolutely. But like I said, it is not hyperbole. It's like most of the time I'm just walking around stunned. It's like you just can't believe it's happening, so you don't really know how to process it. You're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you could sum up the whole experience in one word, what would it be?
Oh my goodness.
That's 3.
One word.
Or a phrase.
I guess awesome. I don't know. Awesome.
You know what?
Yeah, it's hard to encapsulate that into one word. That's just amazing. And
right. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing or awesome.
Gotta tell you how much fun I've had talking with you, because I remember reading about you once again in 1979 in Bantha Tracks and Starlog magazine, going, I wish I was an artist. And here it is, 38 years later, almost to the day that we get a chance to talk. And I want to thank you for sharing all your stories. Now, if any of the Skywalkers out there want to get in touch with you on social media or your website, where do they go for that?
I have a website. It's called jackmagic.com. It's actually, the main purpose of that is that I have a comic book I've created called Jack Magic. And I've been working on that. And actually, my current project I'm working on, I'm writing for Kindle Worlds. I'm a G.I. Joe fan as well. So I've been writing a series. Actually, I've only written one, but I'm working on the second one now. A series of G.I. Joe books. And Kindle Worlds allows you to. It's sort of like a step up from fan fiction. It's licensed fan fiction, so you can write using the characters of certain Kindle Worlds, and as long as it's approved by the process, they say okay. They read it over and they make sure that you haven't violated anything, or it's not in bad taste, or you haven't ruined their characters.
Right.
So I've written in my mind, or my plan was, it's a 5-part story, just like the Saturday morning, the old cartoons where they used to have like a mini series where we had Monday through Friday was a different show, and they all added up to one big story. So this thing is called G.I. Joe Time to Change, and it involves time travel and G.I. Joes from all the different eras of G.I. Joe from the 1960s up to the year 2017. So the first one is called Makeover Monday, and the next one that I'm working on now is called Totally Tubular Tuesday. And so when we get to Friday, we'll have an entire story that's planned out that should be kind of fun, because it's I get to play with all these cool characters. I mean, I'd love to write a Star Wars story sometime, but that's what I'm working on now. So hopefully, you can check it out. You can look up my name and check out the Amazon Kindle Worlds, G.I. Joe Kindle Worlds, and jackmagic.com and Matthew Pak on Facebook.
All right. Well, Matthew, if you do get invited to the set of episode 9, please let us know.
Oh, yes. And anybody anyone's listening who can make that happen, please. Anyways, I had a great time. Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me on your podcast.
Shout-outs. Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. Who was photoballed? Shout-out. Who was shared a post? Shout-out.
So whenever we are at Disneyland, we make it a point to head over to Star Wars Land area, the gates, and take a picture, and then we hashtag it Star Wars Land Line.
Whether we're at Disneyland or Disney World, we've started something.
We've started a trend. So John Zancanaro, he continued that trend by posting in our Facebook group. He said, "My sister and I are first in line for Star Wars Land at Hollywood Studios." And a picture of him with his Skywalking Through Neverland shirt and his sister on her phone. And they're chilling out, waiting by that giant sign that's near...
The concept art.
Yeah, the concept art sign that in Hollywood Studios is near the Muppets.
Muppet stage.
Exactly.
Muppet Theater.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have people holding a place in line.
Yeah.
You know what? We won't do what they did at Celebration Orlando. We won't cut you.
No?
We'll get in the line right behind you.
Okay. Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
No more Celebration Orlando flashbacks.
Oh.
No more line cutting.
Well, John, we wanted to thank you so much for posting that picture and representing by wearing the Skywalking Through Neverland logo shirt all around Disney World. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I also want to give a shout out on Twitter. Joshua Jordan, who is at UberNerd527, he has a podcast called Beyond the Start Button, Well, on episode 5, he has a really nice shout out to Skywalking Through Neverland. Now, on our last day in Orlando for Star Wars Celebration, we were able to meet Joshua where he works at Disney Quest. And so he recapped that meeting. He was very excited to meet us. So thank you for your shout out, Joshua, on your podcast. And we're giving you this shout out in return.
It was so much fun meeting him that day. However, it was kind of hurtful because he invited us in to play all these video games.
Yeah.
And we had to go back and pack.
Well, yeah, because we were leaving that day on the plane, unfortunately. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, man, if I had known that, we would have gotten there a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
To play Frogger and Donkey Kong all day.
I know.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt to turn down those video games. But thank you, Joshua.
Yes, and thank you for
your shout out.
Yeah. All right, final shout out. Are you ready?
Ready.
I want to give a huge shout out to my mom.
Oh.
Sunday was Mother's Day, and, we couldn't spend it together, but Mom, I want you to know that I was thinking of you, and honestly, I wouldn't be the person I am today if not for you and Dad really being great parents. Like, I just have such fond memories of being a kid. You guys were so great. So, I'll just share this little story that Mom really taught me how to bake, and I love baking, and it's a lot to do with Mom. And I remember that my duties were that I had to cut out the brown bags because they were 3-dimensional. I had to make them 1-dimensional, so I cut out the bottom of them and I laid them flat because that's where you put the cookies after they're on the tray. And then I had to chop the nuts. So my mom had a little nut chopper, and I would sit there on the table and chop, 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 chop. It was really fun. I loved chopping the nuts. And then I always had to mix the dough. That was partly my job, which in our house, because we had a KitchenAid, consisted of me turning on the KitchenAid mixer. But I love to do that.
I'll start somewhere.
I know. And then one of my favorite things was once the cookies were out of the oven, I had to take them and put them on
your mouth?
The drying rack. No, they're too hot then. They're too hot.
That never stopped me.
I would have to also admonish my dad for taking those cookies that were too hot. All right.
It's a male thing.
Yes. So that was always my favorite part. And to this day, whenever I take something out of the oven, my favorite part is, is taking the spatula and putting them on the drying rack. So
into my mouth.
Yes. And then, of course, another favorite part is licking the batter from the KitchenAid mixer piece. Yum, 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 yum. Which my mom let me do that. So thank you, Mom. I love you. I love you, Dad. And just happy Mother's Day.
Yes. To the best mom-in-law ever. Thank you for raising such a beautiful sweetie wife.
Aww.
Although back then she wasn't a sweetie wife. She was just a little sweetie.
Yes.
And now with that, let's reveal the Skywalker of the Week.
Matt Allen Ruiz.
Congratulations to Matt Allen Ruiz.
Yay!
Yeah, he posts a lot, and because of that, he gets to be the Skywalker of the Week.
Excellent!
So, if you want to become a Skywalker of the Week, you gotta post some stuff too, or maybe subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes! Okay,
Comment in our YouTube.
Comment on YouTube videos.
Yep.
You can comment on each video. You can like them. You can share them. So yes, we're gonna do a YouTube-focused Skywalker of the Week.
Ooh.
This next month.
Okay,
How about that?
That sounds great.
How about that?
All right, then we'll send that right over to Rob Dellinger, who writes these Skywalker jingles every single week. And of course, you all know who Rob Dellinger is.
The John Williams of podcasting.
All right, now with that, let's find out how Margaret Kerry can help those Skywalkers in need in Ask Tink.
Hello, Skywalkers. This is Margaret Kerry, the official fairy podmother on Skywalking Through Neverland. Some of you may even know me as the animator's reference model for Tinkerbell in Walt Disney's original Peter Pan film. I am here to give advice, wisdom, and spread to you my faith, trust, and pixie dust. Or if you just want to ask me a question about my career or anything from Tinkerbell's point of view, then I'm here for you too. Let's start things off today with a question from Jim Pruitt, who asks a real thinker of a question. In 1967, the movie Dr. Dolittle introduced the world to a man who could talk to the animals. If you could talk to just one animal, what animal would it be? And he says, I would talk to a squirrel and tell them to stay out of the traffic. I think that's good thinking. Talk to an animal. Well, I do talk to animals. I really do. I love animals. Tell you a story. This happened to me when I was working on the Charlie Ruggles Show at ABC. It was one of the early live shows, and our sponsor was Dr. Ross Dog Food. And if you remember Hal Smith, who played Otis Campbell the drunk on the Andy Griffith Show, well, he was the announcer on our show, the Ruggles Show. And they had brought in a little dog, a little larger than a Chihuahua. And Dr. Ross was wonderful about animals, but the little dog hadn't eaten all day. It had water, it had everything, no problem. So 7:30 at night came the commercial, and Hal is telling about Dr. Ross dog food, and they put down the dog food on camera, and the little dog just laps it up, you can imagine, and then regurgitates all over Hal and the bench, live. So Hal, talking to animals, picked up the little dog and held it close to him and looked into its eyes and says, you just love Dr. Ross. You ate that too fast, didn't you? Oh, I'm sorry, but you like the liver part, don't you? And so help me, this little dog on camera nodded up and down in agreement with what Hal said. And the dog was fine. It hadn't eaten, so therefore... So we do talk to animals. We talk to them all the time, particularly the ones that we have in our homes. And I love it. And you know, one of the people who got that going, one of the geniuses who changed the world when it came, his name is Walt Disney. He gave us another look at animals in all the wonderful shows and movies that he did. Thank you for that question. Now let's hear from a 5-year-old Andrew Dellinger, who has to know, his question is Tinkerbell real? Oh, you know, that's a very deep question, and people have been asking questions like that. And a 5-year-old, good for you. Let me ask you, maybe I can put it in a way so you can understand. Let's just say that you have a great-grandma who lives 2,000 miles away from you in a big city, and your parents tell you about this great-grandma, and her name is, let's say, Patricia. And great-grandma Patricia is wonderful, and she likes to eat oatmeal, and she likes to drive her car, and she likes to go to movies, and you have never met great-grandma Patricia. But do you believe she's real? I believe she's real. I believe Tinkerbell, whom you've never met, I believe she's real too. So maybe that answers your question. There are lots of people that I'm told stories about that I'm so happy that I know about them and that I believe they're real. Andrew's 8-year-old sister, Zoe Dellinger, also has a question. Well, it came in all the family. She wants to know, are you, that's meaning me, really as tiny as Tinkerbell? Or did they use, oh, so smart 8-year-olds, special effects? Well, I know that you think of special effects, Zoe, but I'm going to answer it in a different fashion. All right, let's just say that a grown-up in your family, a dad, a mama, uncle, an aunt, is 6 feet tall, okay? And they hand you a pencil, and they hand you a piece of paper, and they said, draw a picture for me. And you would you say, no, I need about 16 more pieces of paper, and it's going to go all the way across the floor because I have to make this person as tall as they are. No, you draw them the size that will fit the piece of paper. And you do it very well. And the great artists at Disney, Mark Davis and so many of them, drew Tinkerbell so how she would fit into the scene and the backgrounds. So you might call it special effects, but I call it artistic genius. Is that okay with you? Because when I see her up there, sometimes, well, I never feel small because I'm 5'2", and little kids come up to me and look at me and they said, "Are you really Tinkerbell?" And their mothers are smiling, like, tell them yes. And I look at them and I say, "No, I'm too tall to be Tinkerbell." But they drew me as Tinkerbell with all my actions. So that is very, very special. And you might say a special effect. Well, Skywalkers, that's all the TINK time we have for today. I would like to thank Jim Pruitt and Andrew and Zoe Dellinger for sending in their questions and their concerns. Oh, almost forgot that. If you would like me to spread some faith, trust, and pixie dust, send your questions to share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Bye now.
Like fire across the galaxy, the Clone Wars spread. In league with the wicked Count Dooku, more and more planets slip. Against this threat, upon the Jedi Knights falls the duty to lead the newly formed army of the Republic. And as the heat of war grows, so too grows the prowess of one most gifted student of the Force.
In 2003, Lucasfilm had the idea of a series of shorts based on the Clone Wars. There were 3 seasons which comprised of 3 to 12-minute episodes and introduced some upcoming characters from Revenge of the Sith.
Here with us now to discuss Season 1 of Clone Wars is Skywalking Through Neverland book reviewer Jocasta Drew Kaplan and Skywalker Nitzan Harel.
Hey, Richard and Sarah. How are you?
Hey, Drew. Welcome back.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Nitzan. This is your debut performance here in Skywalking Through Neverland.
It is indeed. I'm very excited.
As well you should be, because this is a very exciting series we're going to be talking about now. Drew, you had suggested doing a roundtable on Clone Wars. Not to be confused with The Clone Wars,
right.
but Clone Wars.
Right.
Now, why was this series so special to you?
Well, so first, you mentioned it briefly during your presentation at Celebration that you would like to go revisit this. So I took it. I said, you know what? I love this so much. I want to take you up on your offer. Let's watch it again. It's easily doable in a couple hours. So let's just hit it out. I loved it because it was a great segue between episodes 2 and 3. And for me, it really did a lovely job of bridging that gap, especially in those years between those movies. So even until the Clone Wars came out and even after it came out, this held a really special place in my fandom.
So I want to know, how many times have you seen this series?
I've seen it at least a half dozen times. I've definitely shown it to other people. I got the DVDs a few years back, and I think it was especially after the 2008 movie came out, the Clone Wars movie, I said, there was an original Clone Wars, and so I said, let's have a party and let's show it to people. So I've tried to show it to people a few times in addition to watching it myself. Okay,
so let's go around and say, who's new to this, who's watched this before.
All right, Nitzan.
Well, this was my first time watching this. I did have, the full first 30 minutes of it. I had a bit of an experience with it earlier, and I was kind of I didn't buy into it as much. I think I was a little I'm a graphic designer, and coming from that visual world was a little unimpressed by the graphics at the time. Although I have to say, watching it now, I totally get a different point of view on it.
Huh.
Nice.
Okay. So you have seen part of it before.
I saw maybe a few minutes of it.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, this is not for me. No, I'm not going to do this.
Back when it first aired?
I think it was probably a few years later.
Okay.
The first season aired in November of 2003.
Okay.
And you were how old, Nitzan?
I was in high school.
Just wanted to point that out.
I know.
I was 17 at the time, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, now, Drew, did you watch these in the initial Cartoon Network run?
Yes. So I don't know if I necessarily saw all of them on TV, but they were all available online along with the director's commentary. Even they were just 3-minute clips. This is pre-YouTube era, so there weren't too many videos up. But being in college at the time, at least I had a decent internet speed, so I was able to watch the videos.
Ah, that's how you did it.
Dial-up days.
Yes. Well, in college, they already had Ethernet.
Yeah.
So.
This is my very first time, and I remember when I first heard about this series was when we went to the Hotel Transylvania 2 press event at Sony, which Genndy Tartakovsky was the director for that. So you were all excited to meet him because he had done this series, and I'm like, what series? Wait, not the Clone Wars? I was all confused because the names are so similar. So
you'd be really careful to say Star Wars: The Clone Wars,
right,
or just Clone Wars,
right?
Which the micro series is just Clone Wars.
Yeah. So that's how I first heard of it, and still I knew you had them on your shelf, and I've never watched them. So when we were all discussing watching this series and talking about it, I was like, yeah, let's do it because this would be a great excuse for me to watch them.
Now, I had watched these when they first aired on Cartoon Network because we had very little or next to no Star Wars. And between films, you took what you could get. And this was a good testing ground. See, there's so many different schools of thought as to what this series' purpose was. Now, back then, I heard they were testing for a new Clone Wars animated series. And would animation be the right medium for this new series? And of course, all the Star Wars fans were like, well, yes! Yeah, we can't do it in the films because it would cost a lot of money. And frankly, as a viewer, I was a little bit upset that Attack of the Clones ended as the Clone Wars were beginning. Like, no. Let's continue this.
You wanted to see what happened.
Yeah, a whole movie devoted to the Clone Wars.
We've been hearing about the Clone Wars since 1977, and now here they are, and fade to black and roll credits.
Right.
So now when this came out, I was just so psyched. But as you were starting to get into it, it was that your 3 minutes were up and it was over.
Yep.
But then if you on Wikipedia, it says that this series' intention was to help sell toys. Kind of like the way the Star Wars Holiday Special, that purpose was to sell toys at Christmas time.
It's a marketing ploy.
Well, exactly. So they didn't want the kids to forget about the film now that Star Wars, the last film, had come out almost a year and a half earlier. And plus, they wanted to set up Revenge of the Sith and try new characters. So there's different schools of thought as to what the purpose of this series was.
For me, it's interesting to hear about a thought beforehand as a testing ground versus something that obviously we know there was the Clone Wars that succeeded it. But I think that was, I don't know exactly what went behind the scenes, but I spoke a couple years ago with Leland Shee, why did they make us entirely separate one to succeed the original Clone Wars? And he said it was really about control. Lucas didn't have so much creative input and control with the first series, and so he wanted something to really develop what he wanted to do with the Clone Wars, and that the stories had not fully yet been told with the first series, the Star Wars Clone Wars, and so they wanted to redo it. But I think, I don't know, maybe at the time it really was a good bridging gap. I mean, we see, especially in the second and third seasons, there's definitely a lot more, narrative that goes on that's important.
Right. And the animation style echoes that of Nelvana, the company that did the Ewoks and Droid animated series.
Oh, really?
And the Holiday Special. Because the animated sequence in the Star Wars Holiday Special was a testing ground to see if they could do a Star Wars cartoon.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And since the Holiday Special didn't do that well, news break, they just scrapped the whole thing.
Except the Boba Fett was the saving grace of the Holiday Special.
Exactly.
Which is Nelvana.
So as a kid, I was all over a new Star Wars cartoon or a Star Wars cartoon.
Yeah.
So Genndy Tartakovsky, the supervising director of this series, he was so into Nelvana growing up that he really wanted to mirror that animation style. And I think more the pacing and the editing mirrors the Nelvana style more than the actual artwork.
Interesting.
All right, now let's talk about our reactions to this first season, which comprised of 10 3-minute episodes. So we knocked it out in 29 minutes?
Half an hour, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
So should we go a little into what we saw?
Yeah. Do you want to, Drew? Do you want to recap this phone call? So, Drew, do you want to recap this first season for us?
Absolutely. So we have primarily one battle, Mutants, which we see Anakin and Obi-Wan leading the charge against the Munes, the Banking Clan, and also Dirge, who is the season 1 key foe, as well as we see some other battles taking place. The primary one is the Mon Calamari one with Kit Fisto leading the charge. We see at the very beginning some other Jedi fighting. We see Barriss Offee, Luminara, and Dooley, but we don't really get and Mace Windu, but we don't see beyond 2 seconds what's going on in their battles. There's not a lot of dialogue in this first season. There's clearly a lot of music that drives the sort of the narrative beyond just what we see, which is I really enjoy that. There are the 2 episodes that have very little dialogue, the Kit Fisto one and the ARC Troopers one. I love the ARC Troopers one. Even if there's zero dialogue, it's fun action. It's really great. And to see the varying ways that they have different weapons and how they make their way to their objective of taking out the key cannon, I love that. For me, as someone who loves the battles and the fighting, I mean, that's when I hear Star Wars, I think war, I think battles. That's what I get. And so I love that.
Yeah, I had just seen Black Hawk Down like a week before this came out. And I thought, oh, this is like Black Hawk Down,
wow,
which was the intention. The ship goes down, and now you have the one side in the city trying to survive with all the enemies just gaining on them or just encroaching closer and closer until they just annihilate them.
Wow.
So, Sarah, what did you think of this season? So that was pretty much the gist of this first season.
Yes.
Setting up. And we do see a lot of foreshadowing of what we see in the Clone Wars later on.
Right. I mean, we do get an introduction to Saj Ventress, but that's setting her up for the second season.
Right. All right, Sarah, what are your reactions to this first season?
Well, it is like any new stylized animation. It takes a little, it's a little jarring at first, and then you kind of get used to it. So I think the first episode I probably need to see again because I was thinking about what I was seeing and not really thinking about what was going on in there. But overall, I thought that one of the things that was done very well was the scope of the battle. So you get these space scenes and you see, much like in Return of the Jedi, where you are on the Death Star and you're looking out at the space battle going on and you see little explosions here and there. That was done very well in this series, and you'd see even more explosions, and just so you really got a big scope of the battle that you never really get anywhere else in Star Wars, in my opinion. I thought that was done really well. And one of the things I found interesting in it, the music, was the first 1 or 2 episodes used actual orchestral music that was recorded for the movies. So
right.
Straight from Attack of the Clones, you get the swell of Anakin and Padme, the love theme. But then later on, you get either no music at all, or you get the synthesized tracks, but it still worked for what was going on in here. So I found that interesting. They kind of made a transition musically to get you ready to see this animated series.
Okay. Nitzan, what was your reaction?
Well, definitely on the visual point, I've changed my mind. I didn't like it the first time I saw it or pieces of it, but I now acknowledge that it was very well done. I mean, the linear graphics are what they were meant to be. It wasn't because they didn't put the effort into it. It was their style, this very color block style. I think a lot of the colors are fairly muted. I mentioned this earlier, is that there's not a lot of contrast in the colors. There's not a blue and a red, and that definitely changes the way you see the colors. There's a lot of the fact that everything's outlined in black, and there's areas that are just the droids, for example, they're very outlined black and then color centers, color blotches in the middle. I think it works for what it was. And then if you go go far into the future and go to the Clone Wars, you can see how they've definitely developed visually, and the graphic style and the animation abilities have developed within that time as well. I mean, we're talking about the time where computer graphics and animation have like expanded exponentially within a very short amount of years. And so it's not just that the graphic style changes, it's that the technology changes to accommodate it. So beyond that,
and then George Lucas stepped in and go, okay,
Yes.
guys, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
You guys ever seen the Thunderbirds?
Yeah.
Let's go more toward that.
Mm-hmm. It was very dramatic. Like, there's moments where, like, Anakin goes onto his ship and he takes off his cloak, and it's like this uber dramatic moment. And like Padme's standing at the window and she touches her hand to the window, and it's this like hard moment of goodbye. And it was almost funny, but like they were trying to make it very dramatic rather than humorous.
Well, it's very serialized, like the old Flash Gordon style, where this was all based on show it, don't say it. Because we only have so much time. We don't want to spend time with the exposition having to explain something. So just put it out there. And the more you can over-dramatize something, like Anakin putting his hand up on the cockpit of the starfighter and Padme doing the same thing. It's like you can say it in a couple of words or an exchange, or you can just have that simple hand gesture.
With the swell of the music.
With the swell of the music.
Exactly.
And you're out, and that says it all.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny every time we see a cloak taken off, whether it's Anakin, Kit Fisto, or Asajj Ventress. There's this huge dramatic with the arms flailing and it just flies off.
Fisto was my favorite.
Yes.
Took off his cloak and his lake whatever things are flailing, and he's all like ripped and
jumps in the water. And
that's awesome.
Now, was it me, or did we all expect Aquaman to be swimming right alongside of him?
I thought he was Aquaman. Well, so speaking of, you know what, there wasn't a lot of dialogue, but we did get Anakin, we got Obi-Wan, we got Yoda. Do we know who did the voices?
It's all the same cast as the Clone Wars, except for Anakin,
right?
Who's played by Matt Lucas, not Matt Lanter.
Okay.
So
Anakin definitely sounded.
Yeah.
He sounded actually more like
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen from the films, the kind of more whiny. He tapped into the whiny tone right there.
Master, I know you don't think I'm ready for a command of my own, but I am the best pilot in the Order. Chancellor Palpatine knows it.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Lanter's got more of a rich voice.
Yeah, Matt Lanter's very...
Fine. I'll have Admiral Yularen initiate a planetary bioscan.
And even James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan, it took me a couple of seconds to remember, oh yeah, that is James Arnold Taylor, because he did have more of that Flash Gordon serialized presence to him, his vocalization.
Your skills have never been in question. It is your maturity. I've argued this before, but the decision has been made. May the Force be with you, Commander.
He was a little bit different, though. I mean, it almost felt like he was a little bit unhinged. Like, there are moments where, like, especially...
Obi-Wan?
Yeah, Obi-Wan, like his anger when he's fighting... I don't remember the character's name, the guy in
Dirge.
Dirge. And he's, like, he's falling. He's almost, like, very... The emotion and the anger, and his hair is all, like, swiped aside. And,
What?
And
Hot Obi-Wan? Hashtag hot Obi-Wan.
All comes down to the hair.
Yes.
You need that boy band strand hanging right in front of you.
Yes.
We need to muss up your hair more.
But he just seemed like it was... I don't know. Maybe because I'm so used to the Clone Wars Obi-Wan and the humor and the, like, super, like... quippy Obi-Wan with Anakin and how they are, whereas this relationship was so different. Like the Obi-Wan and Anakin, like the beginning when we see Chancellor Palpatine and Yoda and Obi-Wan, and they're talking about like Anakin going in and being a commander, and they're like, he's not ready yet, he's just not there, and Palpatine basically tricks them into like getting him to do it, and that dynamic and that like almost like, how are you not catching what's going on right now? Like, he's totally tricking you.
Yes, especially when Palpatine is steepling his fingers like Mr. Burns.
Right. So...
Obi-Wan, why are you not seeing this? I just wanted him to say, excellent.
Yes, the Force is clouded. Cloudy.
Yeah, so this was a good step into what Palpatine's plan was for Anakin all along before the whole Ahsoka mess.
Yeah.
All right, was there a specific scene or episode or moment that stuck out to each one of us?
Ventress.
The Jedi shall fall.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ventress.
Me too.
Just, I mean, I love her in everything, but this is the first time, like, probably people have really met her.
Yeah.
And I can imagine this being, like, an amazing moment to meet this incredibly bad
Yep.
character, and she's female and she's strong and she's like challenging Dooku. Like he's like all about the fear. You're full of fear and all these things, and I'm like, but she isn't. She's got this like incredible core, and the battle where she takes out all these other beings is just incredible. She's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Love
interesting.
Ventress.
It's interesting how they had her outfit like very much the same as what it is in the Clone Wars. And was this a character that, do we know, did like George Lucas come up with, or did Genndy Tartakovsky come up with?
That's a good question, which I don't really know.
I'd really like to know. It's an interesting character, and I really that what stuck out to me too. Nitzan was Asajj Ventress, but the only problem with me was, why doesn't she have eyeballs? Because I couldn't connect with her because she didn't have her eyeballs.
Well, they were on a time schedule, okay?
Yeah, they were drawing the eyeballs.
It was a budget. Like, hey, can we draw some eyeballs in? You know what? Get that to Cartoon Network stat.
You know, it almost feels like the Bad Batch, or the episodes that aren't finished from the Clone Wars. Like, it almost feels like a little bit raw at the end, like the animations, because it is a very linear animation style. It feels like it's not finished, but like creating eyeballs is a process. It's hard, and so it's easier to make her slightly more scary looking and kind of creepy, really,
or ghost-like.
Yeah, almost ghost-like by just putting a white eye, and it's just it has its needs. I mean, it has a purpose, I think. Okay. Not just because it was hard to do or maybe inconvenient to do, but she does give off this like creepy vibe. So
definitely,
I would say my favorite episode would be the battle on Ratatak, which was the big arena monster battle.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love me some monsters.
Right. Yes, you do.
And you had a Gamorrean in there. Yep. You had it looked like Ray Harryhausen rejects.
Yeah. Didn't one of the final creatures she battled was a Wampa?
Looked like if a Tauntaun and a Wampa had a child.
Yes.
That was it. And maybe a Rancor was in there somewhere.
It's like they had extra parts and they put them all together and like, okay.
That works.
Yeah.
That'll be an action figure.
So I mentioned it earlier. My favorite part was the ARC Troopers on Munilus, where they just they make their way. I just love that. Even though there's entirely no dialogue, it was just a lot of action and fighting, and they worked together so well.
Yeah, and they brought back San Hill from Attack of the Clones as the main Munilist.
Huh.
Now, this left on a cliffhanger, where there's a battle in space, the Republic is winning, Anakin and his troops are kicking some butt until
Asajj
Ventress shows up.
She just like comes out of nowhere, just taking everyone out.
Really awesome ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those moments like, okay, guys, let's head back for a beer, and all of a sudden, wham, the whole squadron the Blue Squadron is taken down.
Yeah. And you get this close up on Obi-Wan's face, and he's like, with big wide eyes, and surprise.
Yeah. And there is the cliffhanger into season 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do we think is going to happen the next season? What are our predictions?
Well, seeing as how I haven't seen this season, and like maybe Drew and Richard, it's definitely going to be the Ventress story. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the let's get to know her better and love her even more and love to hate her. I think it's going to be, I hope we get to see a bit more of the plan that Palpatine has. Like because at the end he basically says the Ventress is the tool that will take Anakin and the Empire down. Or Anakin and the Jedi down. And I think that it'll be interesting to see how that plays in this series compared to how it plays in the Clone Wars, like where the story shifts, like where their dynamic shifts, because they have a very interesting dynamic in the Clone Wars. What is their dynamic going to be like here?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've seen just a little bit of the manipulation toward Anakin, but now this is like gloves coming off.
Right.
Now we're going to show you the plan for Anakin and how we're just going to just shake him up.
Yeah.
Not know which way to go.
Well, I hope that we see a little bit more interplay between relationships between characters, like Anakin and Obi-Wan interaction, and hopefully Asajj Ventress interacting with them. And then, like you said, Nitzan, about the Emperor and more of his plan. I think that would be really interesting to see. Now, I do, since the space battles are one of my favorite parts that I've seen so far, I do want to see more of that and more of clone troopers kicking butt as well. I think that would be neat.
It was odd for a couple of seconds seeing how welcoming Palpatine was of Asajj Ventress. It's like, and you wanted just to tell Palpatine, there's a rule of 2, right? Why are you inviting this one into your group here? Then you hear Palpatine's plan for Asajj and doesn't intend to keep her around for very much longer.
Doesn't have high hopes for her.
Yeah. I'm actually going back to just my notes here. I really do like, actually not only just the space battles, but like it looked like Genndy Tartakovsky really studied different battles in history, because at one point Obi-Wan and who's the bad guy in this first series?
Dirge.
They're having like a duel like knights.
Jousting.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I have that too on my notes.
Yeah, that was like really neat. So, yeah. I hope we see more
my
of
notes
these
literally
interesting
say
battles.
love the jousting. Like it was so cool. It was like they're on these bikes, and it's like horses, and they have the joust
like stick,
but they're like they blow stuff up. Like,
they like go at each other, and then they rear the bikes around to turn and face one another again. Yeah, it was neat.
I love Dirge's army of like these black IG-88 knockoffs. And did we touch on the music yet?
A little bit.
Yes, we did.
We got some of Across the Stars, and also when Sidious was there, we got a little bit of the Emperor's theme from Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, yeah.
So that was really some nice callbacks.
Yeah.
And then I know someone was mentioning about in the Mon Calamari, the underwater episode, how we got some music there. Lots of heavy drum beats and stuff.
It stuck out to me because it sounded just like Planet of the Apes.
Oh.
This was pure Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what those instruments would have represented. I would have guessed other kind of watery
they have,
sounds.
Like, horns.
Flutes and horns, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
but like for me, a little too much drums for something underwater. Like when we hear the opera in Revenge of the Sith, you hear these watery sounds. I would have expected more music like that. But you know what? I'm good with Planet of the Apes music.
Yeah, with battle scenes, you need some drums.
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but Dooku's ship, did it look a little bit like a pearl in an oyster?
That's what it looked like in Attack of the Clones.
Okay, because I didn't remember that. Like,
yeah, it wasn't as pearl-ish.
This looks really like a pearl in an oyster. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, I kind of got that too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap it up here. And you know what? Drew, tell everyone where we can get a hold of you and read more of your work.
So I'm at StarWarsMaven.info, and you can check out stuff. I've got stuff on Star Wars Clone Wars there.
Yeah, and also you've been writing a couple things for Adventures by Daddy.
Yeah, so Dave Parfit, a fellow Skywalker, we chatted at Celebration, and some of my stuff is appearing there, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yay.
All right, good deal. Nitzan?
I don't write anything. I watch, and I read, and I comic. And, yeah, that's...
But do you tweet?
Not really. I Facebook.
Okay. Oh,
and
Facebook.
I listen to you guys. I listen to stuff.
Well, there you go. Need we say more?
Yeah.
And you conveniently live around near us.
Yeah, right around the floor. Yeah, it works.
Go Long Beach.
Yeah.
Yay.
So for now, all we have to say is, begun the Clone Wars have.
Yes, thank you, Yoda.
To answer your question, Sarah, you had asked if Asajj Ventress was a George Lucas or Genndy Tartakovsky design.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was a character designed by Dermot Power for Attack of the Clones when the art department was coming up for designs for Dooku.
For Dooku?
For Dooku, they had played with the idea of the next Sith being a female.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, they're kind of ahead of their time.
Yeah, very, very much so. And to George's credit, he didn't throw her away when they decided to go with Count Dooku, but put her to the side until they found a need for her.
Right.
And then they had a need for her in episode 6 of this Clone Wars series.
Awesome. Yeah, she's so creepy looking.
Yeah.
Especially with the, no blacks in her eyes.
Yeah, so that's the brief history on Asajj Ventress' creation, but going back one further to Phantom Menace, Darth Maul was going to be a Night Sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They weren't called Night Sisters back then, but what you saw Mother Talzin as, her design, that was a discarded version of Darth Maul. He was going to be that character there.
Whoa.
So they were really, really ahead of their time with female empowerment.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
Totally. So I can kind of see where Ahsoka came from then. It's like they made one character, maybe a female, gonna be male. Another character, maybe female, made it male.
But now to go back even further,
Mm-hmm.
Lucas even toyed with the idea of Luke Skywalker as a woman.
That's true. There's concept art with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Ralph Mcquarrie concept art with Luca looking into the horizons of Tatooine.
Yeah. That's true.
George, you're way ahead of the game once again.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go ahead and wrap things up, Sarah.
All right, but before we wrap things up, I want to remind the YouTube viewers out there, so if you happen to be watching this or listening to it on YouTube, if you want to see more fun-filled content from us, please click that thumbs up button below the video, right down there, and comment on it, and then hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. Once again, we are Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube, and we are going to be posting just many more videos in general, from Star Wars Land construction updates to just little bits of fun at Disneyland or press events we happen to attend. And in fact, right now we have Star Wars Rebels press conferences from the beginning of season 2 all the way to that finale of season 3. I mean, actually, all the way to season 4 press conference that we just attended at Star Wars Celebration. So make sure you go view those. I mean, those have lots of views. People are super interested in those. And it's fun to see. It's kind of fun to actually listen to some of these press conferences and just see what Dave Filoni was hinting at when you know what happens in the season now. So it's fun to do that. Go back in time.
We also have fan films on our YouTube channel. And do we have our bunny videos? Remember when we first began Skywalking Through Neverland, we would, for our video versions, we would make these little bunny videos.
Yeah, I think there are a few, but they're not categorized yet. So I've been in the process of updating our YouTube channel, making playlists that are easy to find. Like right now, all our Skywalking Through Neverland episodes are on one playlist. Our Talking Apes TV episodes are on another playlist. We also have Star Wars Land construction updates are on their own playlist. We have another playlist called Disneyland Magic, and that's just going to be little bits of fun we find. I love stopping and listening to
the street performers.
Yes, thank you. The street
Especially
performers.
at Halloween.
I know, yeah. So the Dapper Dans, the Cadaver Dans at Halloween, yeah.
But now, speaking of bunnies, it's Skywalker homework time. Go get your phone and tweet this out to Pablo Hidalgo. Hashtag make Hoojibs canon. And if you can include a picture of a Hoojib, that would be great too. But we've got to make Hoojibs canon. That's our Skywalker homework. And if you were with us during our Hoojib hop at Star Wars Celebration Orlando, go ahead and include that picture just to give him more of a mental image about how serious we are about making these Hoojibs canon. we're going to do it. This, I vow to you. We are going to make this happen.
Yes. Oh, and as a reminder, we do have the YouTube video of my encounter with both artist Ashley Taylor and Ashley Eckstein at the Wonderground Gallery on our YouTube channel. So that's super exciting. And when I was at Disneyland on Sunday waiting for Richard to meet me so we could have a little Disneyland day, I ran into the Disneyland band in front of the castle. Mary Poppins and Bert were with them, and they played an entire Mary Poppins set of music with Mary Poppins and Bert dancing around, and it's all there. I caught their whole set. So
Mary Poppins, is he cool?
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
I'm sorry, whenever I see Mary Poppins, I always think about Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when he's sailing down and Peter Quill says, "You look like Mary Poppins."
He's like, "Oh, is he cool?"
So I apologize to you and to Julie Andrews.
That was awesome.
All right, with that, let's now wrap up episode 169 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to give a huge thank you to Matthew Pak, Margaret Kerry, Jocasta Drew Kaplan, Nitzan Harel, and all the Skywalkers who listen every single week and watch now on YouTube.
Yeah, we'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. So exciting. Now, do you know what comes after episode 169?
Yes, I do. Our big Star Wars 40th anniversary episode 170, where we have an amazing discussion with producer Gary Kurtz.
What?
I know.
Producer of American Graffiti,
Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Dark Crystal, and you know who else is going to be on the show?
What?
The Skywalkers. Because a lot of you already sent in your Star Wars memories, but we're going to extend the deadline up to this Friday, the 19th.
May 19th.
It was today, May 16th, but now we're giving you until May 19th to send us in your Star Wars memories.
That's right. And if you want to do that, the best way to do that is take a voice memo on your phone and then email it to share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And make them about a minute or two, sharing your fondest Star Wars memory.
There you go.
Speaking of friendships, let's tell everyone that we have a lot of friends over there at RetroZap.com, where you can find some amazing reviews, articles, and podcasts, such as Brews and Blasters.
Also, the Sandcrawler podcast.
Beltway Banthas.
The Deuced Cast movie show.
Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Kanata's Castle, hosted by Red 5 Mom and Becca Benjamin.
Techno Retro Dads, hosted by our good friends Jedi Schwa and Shazbazar.
Yeah, and also there's Animaniacast. So if you're into the Animaniacs, that's the podcast for you.
And coming up, Talking Apes TV, where we just reviewed our very last episode from the Return to the Planet of the Apes TV series.
Whoa.
There were only 13 episodes, and we just reviewed the very last episode. That should be coming out in about 2 weeks.
Okay, nice. Well, you can also find Skywalking Through Neverland at jedinews.co.uk. Richard and I have been writing a few articles or sharing some of our content with them because they're just a great group of guys, Mark Newbold and everyone over there.
James Burns.
Yeah. Paul McHugh. They're just so into sharing content, and we love that about the Star Wars family.
And they're just so darn humble. Love those guys.
Yes.
Oh, okay, big cyber hug. A big Wookiee cyber hug.
Yay.
Now, if they want to reach out to us personally, what should they do, the Skywalkers out there?
Oh, on social media, we are at SkywalkingPod for Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. We also have our Facebook group. Now, the Facebook group is a great way for you to meet other Skywalkers, not just interact with us. And it's amazing. So what you need to do, it's a closed group on Facebook. So you just search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group and request to join. And then you will get 2 questions that you have to answer. So make sure you answer those in whatever way you see fit. And then we will let you in to the group if you answer them how we like it.
Yes. And tangent.
Yes?
I had a dream 2 nights ago about our big meetup in Boston.
Okay.
In December.
Oh, yes.
When we go see The Last Jedi with all the Skywalkers. I had a dream that we were at the theater waiting for a couple of friends to arrive. I remember waiting for Matt Clifton, Amanda Bakken, Ryan Stampley. That's how I dream.
How funny. Aw, that's so cute.
And as always, we love those iTunes reviews. The good ones and the bad ones.
You know what? We have 199? We have 199 reviews on Facebook. I mean, on iTunes.
Oh.
So that means if you go review us right now, you could be the 200th.
Oh, should there be a contest? There should be a contest.
Okay.
Okay, that's
What should they win?
Not my Lego Republic gunship.
What about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Something in there.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. I want some stuff in here.
Yes. Oh, look at this. Okay, so contest. If you are going to write an iTunes review this week.
They have to be the 200th review.
The 200th review on iTunes. Bam. You will get a little pack. A Guardians of the Galaxy pack. Whee! Now, we're just going to advertise this on our episode. So, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube or watching it right now, you guys have the one-up.
Yes.
Or listening to it. Here is little Baby Groot. What is this? Keychain. Baby Groot keychain.
Ooh. I didn't know they got this, too. Look at that.
What is that?
Whoa! And a Dairy Queen gift card.
Whoa!
Okay. So, it's a Dairy Queen gift card.
Okay, and then this was also given to us from Guardians of the Galaxy. What's that?
This is inside of there.
Oh, okay. So this is an envelope you get. Now, it's meant to look like 1970s, 1980s. It's an envelope, a mission mixtape. And there's some hashtags you have to use, and you get this mixtape in it. And it's really cool. So, be our 200th reviewer on iTunes. Woo!
And I'm sure we'll throw some buttons in there and stuff.
Yeah, some buttons. But basically, it's this fun gift pack of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and we're not going to share this anywhere else on social media. This is like one of those impromptu contests.
Yep. Fun contest. Woo!
All right, with that, let's close out the show by telling everyone to listen right after the following copyright laws and blah, blah, blah legalese.
Our outro.
Yes, because
Listen.
we always like to incorporate the outtakes and the bloopers. And the stuff that just didn't fit in the show. We'll lift it up. If it's worth listening to, we'll put it at the end of the show, even if we think it's worth listening to.
If you're watching our behind-the-scenes video, well, you got all those bloopers live.
Yes.
Have fun.
So watch that, and always remember to rate us on iTunes and be that 200th reviewer.
Yay.
Go! And
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said. Oh, here we go. In 2003, Lucasfilm had the idea of a series based on... Oops, I messed that one up already. In 2003, Lucasfilm had the idea of a series of shorts. Take 14.
That's better.
Yes.
Beep. We're recording. Yay. BB-8. BB-8's recording. See? BB-8. All right. By the way, I'm wearing Wonder Woman workout gear. I'm very excited about this. Okay.
That's exactly what they were wondering.
I know.
It's
so cute.
I'm wearing Iron Man pants and a Lego Star Wars shirt.
Like a cute man. Okay. That's the workout bra. And it's very comfy. You can get this at Kohl's. And it's like this very silky material. I like it. Okay.
Now we're doing product placement.
Yes.
Unsolicited. Kohl's, you owe us $5.
She's my friend. I have to promote.
Who's Cole?
No.
Why is she your friend?
No, HerUniverse.
Okay.
All right.
Her we
ready?
can promote.
Yes. Don't forget the time. I know. Thank you, Mark.
Way ahead of us, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They know the show better than us.
Apparently.
Please feel free to... Oh my gosh, I can't say that. Also, Michelle says, hey guys, love your podcast. 3 hearts your podcast. Whoa!
She doesn't love it once, she loves it 3 times.
Thank you, Michelle Morris. Yay!
Thank you.
All right.
Are there any stories out there that she is being told about Padme?
Well, I'm sure we're going to hear more or read more, perhaps. Yeah. As the story fills in between Leia and her dad,
Bail
Organa. Thank you.
One of her handmaidens, one of Padme's handmaidens, did train Leia to be somewhat of a warrior. So maybe she had told Leia about Padme and what an influence her mom was and how powerful she was. That's just the story I'm going with.
Okay.
So now now in the picture she's not she's more Amidala than she is Padme.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot for recognition of just seeing her in there.
All right, Sarah, your mom's messaging, asking if you're busy or can you talk. Norma, if you're watching, she is very, very busy. She's getting her medal. All right, now, Sarah, to answer your question.
Uh-huh.
All right, Sarah, now to answer your... All right.
What is it? Here, scoot your knee over.
Scoot your knee over.
You're in my way.
Listen to the way we argue. It's like this every single day.
Yes.
That's as bad as it gets. Now,
okay.
Sarah, are you done?
No.
And then, we got to eat at the hotel. And I do remember about the hotel, no ketchup.
Oh, that's
no
right.
ketchup.
They just did not.
That was they did not have ketchup in the restaurant, and it was it was a nice hotel, kind of upscale. I mean, not snooty, but it was kind of upscale. Everybody was there in suits and ties. The families that were there dining in the room. But it was funny that there was like no ketchup, and it was like And they said, well, they don't do ketchup here in England, blah blah blah. I think actually it'd be very different now. Because the way culture is we're more of a worldwide culture. But back then it's very different. I think another thing I do remember about when we were there in London at the time was that they just started opening up Burger King. And so, and Burger King was a brand new franchise in London. And so they had signs and it was all over the place saying like, Burger King is like it's the restaurant from America. And it said, you call them chips, but we call them fries.
Oh boy!
So, okay, you take care.
Thank you, Matthew.
Hey, may the force be with you. Right?
Is
that what you're supposed to still say right now?
Yeah, no, that worked.
That and let us know when you're on the set of the Han Solo movie.
Or Misa's so happy.
There you go.
Yep.
Lots to choose from.
I know the best way to end it is to say. You say to me, Matthew, I loved having you on our show.
Matthew, we loved having you on our show.
I know.
Aw, there you go. Awesome.
See what I did there? Okay.
I do. You know what? There's no way to top that one.
All right.
All right.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Yeah, talk to you later. Bye.